I don't know if I can go because I work on the sauce. And my
Hey, so we are we are live on All Politics Are Local, America's number one political hip hop streaming show, and it is the fourth Friday, so we're starting with the Disciples. We've got a full show tonight and a great show coming on tonight. And so at 7 o'clock, as you know, we have the Disciples. They have a special guest on the Disciples that will be coming up. Their guest on the Disciples will be their guest coming up in a few minutes will be Caitlin Baptiste Alsbrook, and she will be part of the Disciples show. We have for today. We also have coming up at 7 o'clock. We have Larry Hamm of the People's Organization for Progress. He'll be joining us talking about the governor's race and politics in America and what's going on right now. We're going to have a really interesting, potentially scary conversation where we bring up a lot of the headlines that we think that people haven't really paid attention to, don't really fully know what's going on. So we're going to bring that up, and we're going to have a full conversation about that. Everything from racial profiling being constitutionally protected to what's going on with ICE and how any of us can be stopped at any point for just looking like an immigrant. So we're going to talk about that and what's been going on in Chicago, what's been going on in Memphis, what's going on in New York, maybe going on in Newark in a short amount of time. We'll also be, then at 8 o'clock, we'll have filmmaker and writer Faith Pennick come on, and she's going to be talking about D'Angelo, right? And it's going to be a great conversation, a musical journey conversation. She's a writer, a filmmaker, and was up on D'Angelo when the album first came out. Said how important it was. Talked about how it was a futuristic album that was something that we hadn't seen before. Raved about it in the moment, and everything she said turned out to be. I mean, I heard it, I listened to it, but we're going to have a great conversation because she was right. And time caught up with what she thought about the album and D'Angelo. So we're going to have a great conversation about that. And then at 8:30 is DJ Rhino and the state of hip hop. So all of that's coming up. All of that's coming up now. But of course, it's 7 o'clock. It's 6 o'clock on the fourth Friday. So we have the Disciples, and welcome, Reverend and Councilwoman Louise Scott-Rountree.
good evening, Brother Jonathan, our Sergeant at Arms, our chaplain, yeah, he's all of that. Brother Ed, God bless you. It is so good to see you. And of course, we need you to give our love to our sister Lady Kim with her beautiful self. We are so excited. Welcome to All Politics Are Local, America's number one hip hop Facebook. Listen, all news and views coming from the Disciples and from All Politics Are Local, from our city government, from our community activists, from our medical professionals, from our young people. Anyone that has a voice that wants to make a choice to share their information, have a voice, make a choice to share the information that will be pertinent to our community, that will assist our community. And listen, the Bible declares people perish for the lack of knowledge. I'm so honored that there are two people that are on this line with me on this wonderful show called The Disciples. That Brother Ed Riley, Victor Minister Abdul Haqq-Muhammad, who will be joining us shortly. Our other host, our lead host, which is the one who said, listen, I'm Brian Ali, got to come along for the ride. I want to thank God for that opportunity. Lady Balena Ali, looking forward to her being with
I
us
think
tonight.
Jonathan.
This is um, uh, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we know that Our Lady Ali has been on the forefront of informing individuals. She had a rare form of cancer. God healed her, God kept her, and being the wife of our beloved brother who has been called from labor to reward, Pastor Brian Ali, we left a sweet spirit to be a part when she's available, when she can, to co-host this phenomenal show. Brother Jonathan, I heard you talk about D'Angelo. I heard you talk about what's going on in government. I know that this week I stood with my sister and our mayor, standing with Congresswoman LaMonica McIver. Just to tell you something, brother, I sort of struggle with individuals that wish harm to anyone on any level. We all have families, we all have loved ones, and I'm wondering, how do people, what type of spirit would tell individuals, I wish something would happen to them? I would. We have
Hmm.
individuals that prey on people's downfall, prey on the demise. Want people to how in the world? I'm like, do they? Is something? Is that a mental thing? Because all of us have families, all of us have loved ones, and I'm going to say this every chance I get, brother Jonathan. Even though I might not agree with you, does not make you wrong. Hear me. Even though I might not agree with you, we might just be seeing things differently. It does not necessarily mean, and in some instances, that we're both wrong. It just
And
means we don't see it the same way. So why should I ridicule you, jump down your throat, get mad with you because you don't agree with me?
And a lot of times people just mistake issues that are about fundamental rights, that are about their right to exist, with issues of policy, right? And politics. And I think that that's really the difference that you're talking about, right? Like there are some people who, for whatever reason, take any disagreement, and that disagreement is a matter of like, you must not be here, right? And I don't know specific situations that you're talking about, but I know that
General,
that's common
general.
within. I know that's very common within. That's very common, especially in local and national politics, right? Uh,
Absolutely. And generally, I'm saying generally. I mean, 25 years ago, people wasn't on. There was no Facebook, Twitter, Brian. It wasn't none of these things. They did not exist. You could have something happen at 6 o'clock, and it might be the next day before it traveled, even though it might not be the same way.
Right.
Now,
Right.
6 o'clock, something happened 6:02. The story don't even have to be accurate, but it's already traveled
right.
to
That's right.
thousands of people, your opinion, your thoughts, how you feel. You know, it's just, listen, I know some people have paved the way. I was at the groundbreaking for University Hospital yesterday.
Okay.
Junius Williams, our historian, got up. He was the opening speaker. And he got up and he gave the real rundown of those people who were the first on the line dealing with the agreement, dealing with the circumstance. Names you probably haven't heard in a while, like a Louise Epperson, like a law. Some of you might have never heard of, just know about her. Oliver Lofton, that turned out to be one of the most phenomenal attorneys. I mean, there were names that he read in his presentation of the historical historical presentation of what happened when they were working on the agreement. He played a legal part in that. So I'm just saying, like, you know, there's a saying I always hear. I used to hear Pete Doctor say it, and I've heard our beloved mother Amina Baraka say, "No investigation, no right to speak." You
Yep.
know,
Yep.
sometimes people do a
Right.
lot of talking just because they were standing on the sidelines, but they were not necessarily always in the room.
And a
So
lot
they
of
can
that
know.
is,
Go
and a
ahead.
lot of that's just the way education works, right? A lot of people don't know. And some people are loud and don't know. But that's just where you just do the education. You're like, hey, this is
Absolutely,
what's there.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
Because a lot of the names that you're mentioning, like it's funny because I read one of the I read Woodard's book on the Mary Baraka, and in reading that, you're getting all these names from the past, right? And you're like, oh, okay, so that's why this street is named after after this person, or that's what like it's just illuminating, and we don't really get a
Right,
lot of this history. But I think this history ultimately is very important, and I think having
right.
historians who talk about that, and our local historians like Junius Williams, right? are incredibly important, and the and artists and writers that are local but do local historical stuff. I think that it's great to have those types of oral histories that are local that we can call on.
Right, right. So, you know, knowing that we need and we're behind schedule on some things being updated for our health care, knowing that this groundbreaking took place yesterday, there's a couple of healthcare personnel that will be um, coming to join us, and I think one has joined us. I'm not sure. Is that
We have Haqq-Muhammad, Minister Haqq-Muhammad has joined us,
hey? Good.
and
I
so
can
has
Sister
yield.
Roundtree, Brother Ed,
Yes,
Brother John, it's so good
yes,
to see my family once
yes.
again. God is great. And Brother Ed, man, I'm so
Yes,
happy to
sir.
see you. I said again, Reverend Roundtree, you as well, Brother John. After that awesome and dynamic meeting we had
Yes, sir.
Thursday ago at St. James with Mayor Raf Baraka, commemorating the 30th anniversary of the Million Man March. Larry Hamm, so good to see you all once again. And I
and
pray
Caitlin
that,
Alsabrook is also on as well.
oh, say, okay, we got Sister
Oh, she
Caitlin.
is Caitlin, director.
Director Caitlin
Yes,
Alsabrook.
Oh, Sister
yes.
Sister Caitlin, director. She's on. I don't see. I
Yes,
see
she
her.
is.
She
But we got to
well,
hear from
Brooke is
you. We
on,
got to
but
hear from you, Minister Abdul Haqq-Muhammad, our honorable representative of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Listen, one of our profound leaders that I will always, I've been talking about the Million Man March for the last 30 years. Promise you.
fair.
And him, and like I always say, don't take the credit away from Martin, and don't take the from the Honorable Dr. Martin Luther King, and don't take it away from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan,
Fair.
who was able to bring more than a million. We say the Million Man March, but the number was more than a million. Then you had the women, under the leadership of getting the historical perspective back together, being introduced, asked, and uh, given the assignment by Imam Kadir. Is it Kadir?
Yeah, that's right, Brother Kadir,
Imam
Abdul Kadir
Kadir
Muhammad.
and Brother Larius Frederica. They got the women to support. I'm just saying, like, we got to tell these stories, because while people are fighting over getting 20 people together, nobody is trying to pull everybody together to say we can really make a difference. Those No Kings protests were amazing. They were phenomenal. But for some reason, these folks are just not taking the movement serious, because some things came out of the March on Washington. Some things came out of the Million Man March. The problem is we march now and don't do nothing after. And we set agendas and don't run down. This man is tearing down to build a Trump ballroom that costs all this money. And we got folks that are going to be struggling with what they're going to eat next month.
Mm, mm.
You,
That's right,
you, you,
Reverend Roundtree.
you
That's
do the
right. You
math.
right on.
Like
That's right.
something is wrong when we don't see something not right with that. Something is
Mm,
wrong. Like
right.
for real,
Mm-hmm.
we got mothers that are going to have issues with what are they going to eat,
Mm-hmm.
health care, elders not being able. No, no, we something is wrong, and we sit back. And
Mm,
because we're going to be fed for 30 days by somebody, not thinking about the effects of the next 30 years that it's going to have.
mm, mm. Well, Reverend Roundtree, um, opposition, oppression, persecution, these things have existed for quite a long time. And although it can be very arduous and very gut wrenching and heartbreaking,
Absolutely.
the amount of
Absolutely.
lives that are lost and the type of trauma that is endured, you know, we know that the scripture teaches us that the race is not to the swift nor to the strong, but to those who can endure to the end. And the Bible tells us in Acts 14:22 that we must go through much tribulation in order to enter into the kingdom of God. So tribulation, persecution, opposition is a part of God's plan for growth to 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 produce the type of leadership that we have in you and Ed Riley and Mayor Raf Baraka and Dr. King the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, so many great leaders of resilience that oppression has produced, because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to us, Brother Ed, that whenever a people are depressed or deprived of the essentials of life, freedom, justice, and equality, then Almighty God produces a woman with a womb to give birth to a child. And a lot of times that child looks like an ordinary child, but it is an extraordinary child, because that child is born constitutionally fit with the qualities that people have been deprived of. So although the opposition can be very hurtful, it's part of God's plan. It's necessary. So although those who are in power or think they're in power are doing all that they can do to silence those who want to speak truth to power, as they've always done, it's that same opposition that gave rise to a Dr. King, to a Malcolm X, to a Fannie Lou Hamer, to so many that we marvel over and that we celebrate today, that gave rise to your mother, Reverend Roundtree, and you, and so many great leaders that we
Yes.
have, and a sister that we have on tonight. So we know that victory belongs to those who believe, and that no weapon that is formed against the righteous shall prosper. These things are not in the scripture just for us to quote, but they are there. God is letting us know that, yeah, the opposition it's very hard, it's very difficult, it's very arduous, but it's necessary. And it's part of my plan for your salvation and for your purification. David the psalmist said to us, as I walk through the valley, not as I go under the valley, over the valley, around. We can't Uber through the valley of the shadow of death. We got to walk through it. We got to muster up the
That's
strength.
right.
We got to gird up our loins, and we got to walk through it. Right now, America is a valley, and there's death all around us. But we are going to
That's
fear no
right.
evil, because God's rod and staff is comforting us.
That's
So
right.
David, just as he had to go against Goliath, America and this administration is the Goliath. And if all we have is a slingshot, see, something that small, a little slingshot, it looks insignificant. The slingshot is our unity. It looks insignificant. But if God is with us, then who can be against us? So we
That's
have
right.
a sister on here tonight who is
Yes, Lord.
who is
It's my
very
girl.
strong and very qualified.
That's
The
right.
scripture says in Galatians 3:28 that there's neither Jew nor Greek, bond nor free,
True
male
no
nor female.
Gentile. That's right.
We are all
No
one in Christ
slave.
Jesus.
Watch this. Neither
Huh?
slave nor free, they say.
That's right. But our
That's what it's
sister,
saying.
we don't look at, yes, she is a woman. I'm pretty sure she's a strong, no, we know she's a strong
Oh,
woman
she's
that have to
strong.
be, look, that have to be over what she's over,
That's
striving
right.
to move a city like Newark forward. Newark not an easy city, Brother Ed, Brother Zaid.
That's
So
right.
to be tapped to move a city like this forward, you have to be constitutionally fit and qualified. You have to have been born with the pedagogy and the minerals to be able to handle the type of pressure and the demands that a job that she has comes with. So we have our sister today. We're so happy that she thought it not robbery to come on the show and share, herself with us and give us some information. I see she went off the screen. There she go. There go
Right.
our
I want
sister
to. I
right
want to
there.
give a little. I want to tell you a little bit about it.
We're
I
just
sent
trying
it
to
to
give
you.
you a worthy introduction. We know
Yes.
that, it really doesn't qualify for who you
I
are and what
just
you have had to go through. But please, partners, we're going to do our best. Go ahead, Reverend Roundtree.
listen. He did all we needed to do because the rest of it is. They say to have you introduce a preacher. They said let him preach. But Caitlin Baptiste Alsbrook, MPA, as part of Mayor Baraka's vision to continue moving Newark forward and deliver the highest quality of public service to our residents. Caitlin has been appointed to serve as the director for the City of Newark's Department of Health and Community Wellness and CEO for the Mary Eliza Mahoney Health Center in July of 2022. As the director for the state's largest health department and CEO of a federally qualified health center, Caitlin oversees a budget of over $80 million that supports a spectrum of public health services, including surveillance, prevention, treatment, social support, and community engagement. She holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in sociology from Montclair State University. She graduated with honors from Rutgers University in 2010, earning a Master's of Public Administration. There is so much that I can say. I don't want to take up the whole time introducing this wonderful, phenomenal sister. What I do want to do is make sure that you know, and I know she wants to let you know that she was born in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and is a longtime resident of the city of Newark, where she resides with her husband and two children. She has done so much. She's a proud fellow of Leadership Newark's class. She is a trustee for the Greater Newark Healthcare Center. Look, let me just stop right there. Let me tell you, I know it's kind of dark because I'm sitting in my car, but let me tell you something. I know that everyone on out there can hear me introduce this sister. This sister is an individual that no matter what you call on her for, before she became the director, she was servicing. She gets funding. She gets grants. She makes sure that she and that department are not a burden but a blessing to the city and the residents of the city to the city and to our residents. We are grateful. I introduce to those who are on today our beloved director of the largest oh, you know I get tongue tied when I say it, federally qualified healthcare center in the state, none other than Director Caitlin. Tell them about what you do, tell them about what we got, and tell them about we're the only center that offers what you offer in the state. It's in
Mm.
your hands.
Well, thank you for that awesome introduction. I'm very honored. Can you guys hear me clearly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, awesome. So, as Councilwoman Reverend Roundtree mentioned, I am the Director of Health here for the City of Newark's local health department, and they managed to give me two jobs because I also serve as the CEO for the city's federally qualified health center, which is called the Mary Eliza Mahoney Health Center. It's actually named in honor of the first Black woman to graduate from an American nursing school and work professionally as a nurse in the U.S. Mary Eliza spent much of her career in New Jersey, operating in the maternal health space, taking care of newborns and moms as well. The mission of the Department of Health is to provide and to advocate for comprehensive healthcare access, as well as social and environmental services that support the attainment of an optimal level of health and well-being. And so we do this through our public health arm, and we also do this through our health center. So we work on not just preventing disease, but also treating disease. We work on both sides of the fence. We're comprised of 6 divisions, and we provide a very comprehensive array of services. On the public health side, we offer services that include communicable disease investigation and prevention, WIC, immunization services, health education, emergency preparedness training and preparation, as well as vital statistics. Also, within our environmental health division, we have our Food and Drug Bureau, our Animal and Rodent Control Bureau, and our lead prevention and abatement program. Within our lead program, we provide nurse case management to children who have been exposed to lead paint hazards. We have inspectors on staff who go out to their homes and identify the source of the hazards. And then we have grants through the state and through the feds to provide financial support with remediation abatement should lead hazards be found in your home. We also have the Office of Homeless Services. So we provide everything from homeless prevention to rapid rehousing, emergency shelter services, transitional housing, and we fund a number of drop-in and resource centers throughout the city. And of course, I can't go without mentioning our Division of Medical Care Services, which houses our federally qualified health center. In our health center, we offer adult and pediatric medical care, as well as dental care, infectious disease treatment, behavioral health, and women's health as well. So we have a large array of services that we provide to the greater Newark community, and we do this through not just federal, but also state grant funding that we receive. These grants support the delivery of medical care and public health services like immunization that ensures all children, regardless of insurance or economic status, have access to disease preventing vaccines. Our WIC program, in which we enroll over 45,000 families each year. Our HIV program that has resulted in a viral load suppression rate of over 90%. And if you know about HIV care and treatment, viral load suppression means you're less likely to transmit disease. Less transmission means less new people getting infected, and less new people getting infected means a lesser burden on the healthcare system to provide medical care and medications. Um, we also serve through our health center over 12,000 people each year, 39% of whom are uninsured or underinsured, and 72% of who live under the federal poverty level. So that's sort of the scope of work that we provide here in the city. We're happy to do it, and I'm blessed with the honor of being in a position to lead the doctors, the nurses, the inspectors, the health specialists, the epidemiologists, the caseworkers, the community health workers. It is not just one person, but it takes a team to do this.
Mm. Thank you so much, dear sister, for your service and your dedication and your hard work and your sacrifice. And if I could just ask a question, if you all don't mind, in terms
Ask
of
all the questions you want.
doing
Yes.
what you do in a city like Newark, um, that suffer from a multiplicity, the people, the demographic suffer from a multiplicity of health challenges, the comorbidities that we have. What is one of the most challenging things that come along with your position? What is one of the most challenging things in terms of servicing our demographic of people?
I would say the most challenging is addressing the socioeconomic needs of our community, right? Because if you don't have housing, if you're food insecure, if you don't know where your next meal is coming from, then it's very hard to prioritize your medical care. That
Mm,
becomes lower on the pole of priorities. And so you can't just address the clinical issues that an individual might present with. You have to address whether they're housing insecure. You have to address whether they have insurance or not. You have to address whether they have the economic or financial means to cover the cost of their medications and the
mm,
healthcare visits that they need. When you talk about screening people for cancer, okay, that's great. But then what happens if they are diagnosed? How do they make sure that they have access to that care?
mm,
And how do you make sure that that care isn't disparate because they are not of a higher income bracket, or because they're not, highly educated, or because they're not insured, or because they're not a legal immigrant, because they're black and brown? How do you address all of the inequities that, persist and prevail in our healthcare system, and try the best to connect them to services so that they do ultimately achieve that optimal level of care. So I would say it's definitely addressing the whole person and not just the disease or the illness.
mm.
But
Wow.
let me ask you a question if I can. And I want to say several things. First,
And part of the strategy, I would say, to that is also making sure that we have not just clinical staff on board, but also folks that are invested in addressing those socioeconomic issues, and then trying to braid our resources together so that we can provide support where we can. So, for
Mm,
example, we know that for some, transportation is a barrier. And so we established a partnership with Robert Wood Johnson, Barnabas, I'm sorry, Robert Wood Johnson Barnabas Health, to provide Uber health services to our patients. And so if you're someone who does not have a vehicle, and you have to take several buses to get to our health center, then we can provide that Uber health transport, get you to your medical appointment and back home. We'll take you to your pharmacy to pick up your medications and back home. We'll take you to the lab and then take you back home. We also provide prescription assistance. And so through our 340B program, we have reserve of funds that allows us to provide medications to our uninsured population at a cost of just $7 per med, regardless of the cost of the medication. And this ensures that whether you have insurance or don't, that you have access to the medications you need to manage any illnesses that you might have.
That can you repeat that last item? Kelly, can she hear me? I don't think she can hear me. Can
Sister,
y'all hear me?
Can you hear me?
Can you
yeah,
hear?
can you hear Brother Zaid?
She heard me.
No, I
Okay,
can't
bro.
hear him.
No,
I
she can't hear me.
see his
Yeah,
lips moving, but I
she
do
she
not
she
hear
can't.
him.
He said, can you repeat that last thing you just said
Last, yes,
About prescription assistance?
about prescription
yes.
assistance? Yes.
Yes, so we provide prescription assistance to our uninsured population. So what that means is we have a reserve of funds, and we have pharmacy partners, specifically Walgreens and Giannatos, and we're looking to expand that network. If you are a patient of ours and your doctor prescribes you medication, that comes at a cost, obviously, then we'll provide coverage, we'll subsidize the cost of that medication. You pay a $7 copay. We cover the difference of that medication, whether it's a $50 drug or a $200 drug.
Hmm.
That's huge.
Yeah, that is. That's major.
Oh,
How she
now I
got?
can hear you.
Oh,
Okay, she hear you now. There you
Now I can
go.
hear
well,
you
All
now.
right.
several
Yes.
things, daughter. Let me just
Yes.
say several things first.
Yeah, so
I'm one of
it's
the.
it's it's is working through with our partners. It's leveraging the grants that we receive to try and bring as many resources and services to sort of envelope the clinical care that we're providing through the support of our clinical staff.
Thank you. Go ahead, Brother Zaid. I don't know if she. I want to see if she can hear you.
Mic check. Can you hear me now, daughter?
Oh no, I do
No.
not hear him.
Yeah,
Okay.
she can't hear you now, Brother Zaid. I don't know what's going on with this,
I
brother.
don't know what that is. I
Maybe
got
you need to sign out and sign back in, brother.
this is a bad luck day for me. I'll do that. I'll do that.
Okay.
Y'all keep talking.
Thank you. And sister, so we said, what are some of the most challenging things? What are some of the most fulfilling things and rewarding things that come along with, you know, what it is that you've been called to do?
The most rewarding thing is connecting people to insurance, I would say, is
Mm,
one thing that's rewarding for us. And people with insurance have better health care because they're not waiting until they're sick rather to address an illness, right?
mm,
People who are insured are more likely to engage in preventive services. And the more likely you are to engage in preventive services, the more likely we are to detect a problem before it becomes severe and more difficult to manage or more difficult to treat. And so I would say definitely being able to have someone who comes into our health center with no means of insurance, hasn't been in the healthcare system for a number of years. We take them through an eligibility determination process to see what they are eligible for. If you are uninsured and low income, then we help connect you to Medicaid. If you're of a particular age, then we can assist with Medicare. If you are ineligible for Medicaid because your income is too high, but you don't make enough to cover the cost of insurance, then we have uncompensated care dollars to cover the cost of your care. And we offer a sliding fee scale so that the cost of accessing care is as minimal as possible and based on the amount of income that you have. Sometimes it's being able to go in and remediate a home that has lead hazards in it. We
mm.
have a healthy homes grant that allows us to address other hazards in the home beyond just lead. So if you're a senior and you have broken stairs in your home, which is a fall hazard, we can go in and address those issues. If you've got problems with mold, then we can go in and address those issues. So it's providing better housing for folks who are housed. It's providing access to housing for those who are unhoused. It's connecting people who are food insecure to our WIC program or to our food pharmacy. It's helping someone with diabetes manage their illness and connecting them with the medications that they so desperately need. Every time we are able to make connections and link people to the services that they need to achieve that optimal level of care, I find that to be the most valuable experience in all of this.
Wow, sister, we thank you so much for that. It definitely a necessity, and I know it's much appreciated by myself and the various citizens of Newark, New Jersey. Brother Zaid,
Mic check. Can you hear me now, daughter?
I wish I
I,
could hear you.
Something.
brother.
I hear you. I hear you. So I'm trying to
Yeah,
Yeah,
figure
we.
out
yeah,
why
I
we
don't.
can.
something on her end. Don't worry about it. Keep rolling. Keep rolling.
Yeah, I don't
You
know. I
know,
don't know
No, we
why.
want to hear you.
and
Yeah,
I
he
can't
just.
hear. I don't know
She
if
can't hear me.
Reverend Roundtree is speaking,
Yeah,
but I
I
don't
don't
hear
think.
her either.
She said she don't hear you neither, sister. I wonder if maybe she has to. If you have to sign out, sister, and then sign right back in, maybe because she can't hear you, Reverend Roundtree, or you, brother Zaid. So maybe
Hi,
sister,
can
you
you
need to
hear
sign.
me?
I can hear you, brother Jonathan, and I can hear brother Zaid and Reverend
I
Roundtree,
can't
and I
hear
can
her.
hear
And
her also.
Caitlin, can you hear me?
I'm gonna jump off and try and jump back in.
She's having
Okay,
Good.
trouble.
thank you. And actually, someone had that problem a couple of weeks ago
Okay.
where they
Yes,
couldn't
ma'am.
hear us. So try to sign in, sign out, and possibly with a on a different browser.
There you go. There you go. Okay.
Yes, sister. If you could sign out and sign back in, and possibly on a different browser, brother Jonathan said. Maybe she's trying to do it. It seems like maybe she's
Maybe froze
frozen.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, it froze
Okay,
up.
okay, that's
I
great.
can
Uh,
hear. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
okay,
I
there she
can't.
go.
Yes.
We
Can you hear us?
I can hear
Can you?
everybody now.
I go.
Oh,
There
If
we
that if
go.
that's
okay.
me.
Yes.
There
Great.
we go.
Daughter, you are
Good.
on the roll. Let me just jump in with several things. First, yeah, I'm a a movement elder in this town. I've been big on the history and everything, right? I did not know uh the background of Mary Elisa
Come
Mahoney.
on. And you know Nat Turner, but you didn't know this.
Oh
That
yeah,
is
I know all the
that's
I know all the family, right?
that's the man thing. We got
Yeah,
the
I know,
man stuff
yeah.
down, but some of these women,
Ah,
baby.
But wait a minute,
good. That's right.
Here's where I'm going with all this. One is that the services that you listed, I only heard a half of them. So
Mm,
I'm supposed to be amongst the informed out here trying to inform, right?
Mm,
So I know that the folks who are less informed than us on this particular conversation
Have no
probably
clue.
know half of this, right?
yeah.
So we are in a city where your mayor has, in a very important and pioneering way, in terms of public safety and public health, intersecting, trying to make our city a trauma-informed city, right?
Mm.
On the organizing side, what help do you need on the front of community engagement to help get this information out to the least of these? And I'll
Mm.
ask
a
follow-up
great
questions
question. Great question, brother Zaid.
Absolutely.
that are more pointed. But yeah, and
Great
because you
question.
got it's a heavy post, and this is a very delicate time that we're in, given the drama coming out of Washington. Go start there, and let's build on that conversation.
Absolutely. I would say the one thing I need, and you almost touched on it, or you pretty much touched on it, is increasing our visibility so that the community is aware of the resources and the services that we offer. We do our marketing, and we've done commercials, and we've done radio drops, and I try and go out and
Mm,
utilize these kinds of platforms to make sure that the services that we offer are being spread throughout the community. But it takes faith-based leaders such as yourselves, because you have the ear and the trust of your congregations and your constituents. It takes connecting with you all to make sure that we're reaching those as well, those individuals as well. And so, I, as a leader of the health department, um, make this promise now to really work on leveraging the partnerships with the faith-based institutions in our community so that we can um, connect with you and then connect with your people, because it is important that everyone knows the services that are offered to them. One of the grants that we've managed in the past is around health literacy, right? And increasing the health literacy of individuals, because the more literate you are about the healthcare system, the easier it becomes to navigate.
Mhm.
And so it takes these kinds of platforms where we're able to talk to each other, share information, and get that information penetrated into the communities that we serve. That's the most important piece of it, because it doesn't help to have all these services if nobody knows about it. So I
Mhm.
absolutely pledge to build on this connection that we're making now. One of the things that we're looking at now, particularly in this current environment, is making sure that our children in particular continue to receive access to immunizations and vaccines. It's an individual choice, but we all have to recognize that we are all connected, right? You might sneeze, but that affects me, right? If a child goes into a classroom and wipes their nose with their hands, and then they touch that toy that the next
I don't
child
want
touches,
nobody's
then
food.
we are spreading disease
That's
and we're
right.
spreading illnesses that are ultimately preventable with the right access to vaccines. And so, um, combating the misinformation and the mismessaging that's happening under our current environment. I would love to be able to work more closely with leaders such as yourself to get the right information out there, and then people make the decisions that are best for themselves as individuals and for their families. But I just want to make sure when you're making that decision that you're armed with the right information and the right facts.
Several things, just immediate and immediate follow up. The
My
big
goodness, I've lost you again. I don't hear you. You know what?
y'all
Let me,
jump in
since it
straight
worked before, I'm just gonna try again. Give me 1 second here.
in. The, and she was on a roll. The New Jersey economy. So, as an MBA and a two-time business owner, one of my primary motivations is to get New Jersey a better place to do business. The current administration is trying to tax.
Rated my iPhone, so I don't know why I'm having these problems. But can you hear me now?
We
Yes.
hear you
Okay,
fine.
Yeah,
okay.
we can hear
I
you,
can hear
sister.
you guys. Okay, so sorry about
Uh,
that.
we are in a our city is already and is going to be targeted for cuts by virtue of the hostility of the Trump administration. What do you anticipate its impact to be on what you do and on your capacity to serve in the way that you left out? And on the question of community engagement, I think we can definitely have a real conversation our side of the work meaning being community based violence intervention. When we do our outreach and put our hands on our folks to keep them from killing each other, we have to put in their hands the places and spaces where they need to go. So we definitely need to, bridge that gap between our respective works, so we can, be better in our responsibility in informing the community about the services that they need. Just so I just wanted to give you that plug and ask that other big picture question, given the drama coming out of the Trump administration.
Yeah, no, definitely. To your point, I did want to mention and emphasize that behavioral health is one of the services that we offer at our health department. Yeah, I recently read a quote, and I love this quote. It says that mental health is a road trip, not a destination. Right? It's how you get to your destination and not the actual destination itself. It's how you manage stress. It's how you manage anxiety. It's how you manage depression. Um, and so, we have psychiatric advanced practice nurses on staff who provide talk therapy and counseling and medication management. But we also look at other ways of addressing the anxiety and the stress that many of us deal with on a day to day. We have a arts prescription program in partnership with NJ. So, you go to the doctor, we provide you a prescription so that you can go see a show at NJ, or you can take a glass making class, or you can participate in anything that falls under the sort of arts world or art sphere, as an alternative way of addressing stress and anxiety. It doesn't
Therapy is
always have
valuable
to be
work.
medication. Exactly. Right. But to your point about, what the challenges we see, I would say one of the biggest concerns that we have is with what's happening with Medicaid. Here in New Jersey, some years ago, in I think it was about 2020 or 2021, Governor Murphy passed the Cover All Kids bill. And what it does is it allows all children up to the age of 18, regardless of their immigration status, as long as they meet the income criteria, to be eligible for Medicaid. This means children in our state and children here in our city are insured through Medicaid, if they are low income and do not have the financial means to purchase private insurance, or don't have employer based coverage, which is what most people have in our country. um, with the changes that we foresee in Medicaid, uh, our concern is that the ability to cover children may not be as easy as it was before. And if we find that the number of patients that we have that are uninsured increases, then that's going to have some financial implications for our health center and other health centers that rely on Medicaid reimbursement, insurance reimbursement to cover the cost of personnel and operations and that sort of thing. Um, you know, the reimbursement rate for someone who is uninsured is not the same as someone who is covered through Medicaid. And so if that pool of individuals continues to grow much larger, then we're going to have to figure out how to cover the financial gap in other ways. Does that mean eliminating services? Does that mean restricting services? Does it mean diverting funds from one priority to another? It's of great concern to FQHCs such as ourselves, because the general coverage that we're able to provide in a city where the average income is less than $50,000 a year for an individual, 35,000 I believe is the area median income. That many of our people rely on Medicaid to cover the cost of their health care. So that's my biggest concern right now.
Mm. Wow. Yes, ma'am.
Thankfully, though, we have a mayor and we have an administration and we have an esteemed council that has been very supportive of our public health efforts. And so, my hope is that as we move through these challenges over the next few years, we are able to continue to offer the services that we provide to our community without having to eliminate anything. But the challenges is just starting. We have not seen the peak quite yet.
Mm. Thank you so much, there, sister. Sister Donna, good to see you.
Nice to
Always
see
good to see a
you, sir.
smiling
Yes,
face.
sir.
You hear our
Thank you.
sister? She's so clear. She's so accurate. Very knowledgeable. Very enlightening. Very dedicated. You have any questions or question you would like to ask her, Sister Donna?
Is that Ketlin?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So Ketlin, thank you so much for I know that health is a lot. That's a lot of information to absorb and to work with. So thank you for your service. I do want to ask a personal. We had a Athena Alsabrook in Orange. Do you know Athena Alsabrook? And then there's a senator with that. That's not a common last name. Do
No,
you
it's
know Athena
not.
Alsabrook?
I've heard of her, but I
There's
don't.
two of
Yeah,
you. Wait.
yeah.
Wait.
Allsbrook is my married name. I have to double check with my husband and find
Okay.
out
And then
if she might be kin.
okay, and as a senator doing dynamic work, just want to keep you prayed up because I
I don't know
know
why I'm
that the
losing the
work that
audio.
you're doing and what you're facing in terms of the cuts, the unnecessary cuts, especially in this healthcare, that the thought of possibly seeing people turned away, where that's something that was signed years ago from the federal level under the Reagan administration, that nobody will be turned away, that they will be
Okay,
entitled to
what's
health
wrong with
care.
me now?
Nothing. So I just thank you for the work that you're doing. And even thank Governor Murphy and having that partnership that he was able to sign something that people can get assistance at the emergency room. Um it but how do you, with your neighboring towns like the Oranges and things like that, do you partner? I know there was a collaboration like the healthcare of Essex County or the Oranges and all that. Is that still established? And do you still work through those networks?
We do partner with, and I sit on the Board of Commissioners for the Greater Newark Healthcare Coalition. And
Mm-hmm.
so through that organization and through others, we do work with other municipalities that surround the city of Newark. As an example, even our WIC program, we've had for many years a footprint in the city of Irvington,
Mm-hmm.
where we have a satellite site so that we can provide our WIC program, access to our WIC program to residents of Irvington. And we're working now with the county to look for to create more space and to widen our footprint at some of the social service centers that they've recently developed. For example, the one on Lyons Avenue is one that we're working on. And so, we we take every opportunity to partner with and to learn from and to share best practices with health departments that operate in other municipalities. And so it's not just a one city effort, it's a concentrated effort that crosses boundaries.
And that's I think I heard you speak a little bit about mental health, and I know post COVID and even in light of the challenging times that's going on, do you see And I think I heard you say that you offer people as a means of like going to the theater or something that like quote
Yeah,
unquote like take a
it's a
percent.
arts
That's
our arts
beautiful.
prescription program. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That's beautiful. I hope that
Yeah,
continues. That's beautiful. So
definitely.
thank you for the work that you're doing, and then and I guess continue to think outside of the box as you kind of head off what's coming down the road.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
And Minister
Thank you.
Hawk, is this a bigger picture of? I know every time I'm down, by the university way, I always think about the hospital to come. Is that still a project that we're
Daryl, or you
working on?
mean Daryl is at Beth Israel,
No, I'm
right?
talking about Minister Hawk, the hospital that he
Oh,
will
I
be
thought you
building.
said university. Okay, got it.
Oh, I
Yeah,
guess
no,
God,
you.
well, God knows best, Sister Don. I know it's
Oh,
necessary and it's something that we need.
mhm.
We got 5 minutes. I don't know. Maybe we can allow Sister Caitlin if she would like to any closing information along with Reverend Roundtree and Brothers. As we close it short, there any
Any links to all
information?
those services that
Yeah,
you just did?
any
Yeah.
information you would like to give to the public? Any links they can go on, or
Or if
numbers they
you
may
put it
can
in the
call?
chat, we can link it. We can
Yeah,
put
if
it
you put
up.
it right, we can
Sure,
put it in the chat.
absolutely. Just in terms of where we're located, we are at 394 University Avenue, 110 William Street. We have a satellite site at Speedway Elementary School, which is 701 South Orange Avenue. We're looking to open up another satellite site in Park Elementary, which is in the North Ward at, I believe that's 120 Manchester Place. If you do not have a medical care home, if you're in need of services, please call us at 1-800-734-7083. We also have a social media presence, so Newark, hashtag Newark DHCW. Please like us, follow us. We put messaging and information out through our social media platforms on a regular basis as another way of staying connected to the community. And so please pass that message along, and I'll make sure to put that in the chat right now.
Okay. And Caitlin, we always ask one question of our guests. This is a hip hop political show. When you're doing that awesome work that you're doing every day, is there a hip hop artist, individual group that you listen to help keep you inspired? And it
Oh
doesn't
my
have to be
God.
hip hop. Go ahead.
That's it. I have a very wide taste in music, so I listen to everything from Cardi B to Beyonce.
Okay. Like, oh,
So
okay.
let me just say,
A little bit of
Caitlin,
everything.
Caitlin, that's good. Let me just say this. I thought that it would be a great idea to have Caitlin on today because Ed was at our women's meeting the other night and we had some
And I'm
women
typing in the chat
that were
now.
doing some
Okay.
very, can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Loud and
ma'am.
clear. Mhm.
We had some women that gave some phenomenal testimonies, and Ed was so moved by the free dental. I'm not free, I'm sorry, by the dentist, a young girl, a beautiful woman from Newark, Dr. Webb. Her story was so inspiring that he
Mhm.
wanted me to invite her on. Well, she
I
pre-scheduled
just wanted
something.
to say before we close out, thank you so much for allowing me to join you and to have this conversation with
She
you.
must not be able to
I
hear
look
me.
forward
Yeah.
to
Yeah, she must not
building.
be Reverend Roundtree.
Yeah, she said, Catlin, can you hear
Reverend
Councilwoman
Roundtree.
Roundtree
No, I
talking?
can't. No, I don't
She
Okay,
hear
she
her.
so
can.
don't go anywhere yet, because she's kind of highlighting how you got here. So don't leave us yet.
Right.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
okay.
so with that being said, when Ed asked the question about Dr. Webb, I called. I said, wait a minute. Okay, God, maybe this means we need Director Caitlin on because while Dr. Webb is going to talk about the free dental I mean, not free, I keep saying free dental, that's us.
Mhm.
Um, the her dentistry and practice and how she got there and how she came back to Newark to serve her. She will be on next month, but it just led me to this young sister who is in charge of more services than I can remember. or even mentioned. I don't know that she spoke about the mobile medical van that travels through the city. Ask her a quick question about that, Brother Jonathan, if you're on, getting ready to cut us off. The disciples also ask her about the medical. We now have a mobile dental unit that goes to, and you get free screenings, free medical screenings. She has all of these services available, and this is through the city of Newark, FHQC. And I'm telling you, this is amazing. It's not heard of. I'm not saying that other cities might not have something, but we just cut the ribbon on the dental mobile unit where you can come in your neighborhood and get inside the dental mobile and get a screening, and they'll tell you what you need to do, or you can go to the medical mobile van, and she runs all of that. So this being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we need to focus more on our health and taking care of ourselves and know of services, because you don't need insurance to get on that medical or dental van, mobile unit rather. They will see you with or without insurance. And a lot of people, just like we do the mammogram screenings and the cervical screenings and the colon screenings, and there's just no reason for men nor women to be walking around. At some point, if you want to live, you need to. If something hurts, that means something not right, and nothing's not hurting before it start hurting. If you feel a little different, you need to go somewhere and get it checked out. Mental health, physical health. Listen, we're the worst at it, Minister Brother Abdul Haqq. We don't take care of ourselves. High blood pressure. Minister Farrakhan will tell you, you know, listen, okay, let me stop because I do know. Come on in. I do know that I have to yield for a minute so she can do her closing remarks. The mayor, as we speak, is over at his the men's meeting, I believe, is tonight.
Right.
Men's
Yeah.
meeting is
Uh,
Right.
yes, it is.
happening at Central High School. The women's meeting, we had a phenomenal women's meeting. We'll be having our next women's meeting November 17th. We talked about home ownership, development, and we're going to bring Caitlin and Dr. Webb to the women's meeting in November. Minister Abdul Haq, we got a lot of stuff coming up. The mammogram mobile unit will be in Newark the 1st and the 8th. Well, yeah, the 1st of November, the 8th of November, and the 15th of November. The 1st and the 8th, it will be at 205 South Orange Avenue. The 8th, the 15th, it will be at New Psalmist Worship Center. Pastor Brian Ali's church, where leading Lady Ali will be leading the charge on this Thursday, this 31st, October 31st. We're doing a masquerade ball at the Kruger Scott Mansion. Now we don't. Some of us don't even have to put on no mask, but there's gonna be little things they
Yeah,
putting on their eyes, to free cervical, free mammograms, and workshops about
Mm.
your health. That is this Friday from 9 to 2 at Kruger Scott Mansion, 601 Martin Luther King Boulevard. I have so many announcements, but you know what, Brother Ed, I'm not Brother Ed, Brother Barbara, Sister Donna, I'm just going to send all these flyers to you. So if I'm not on, you can talk about the things
Please.
that the mayor is doing. And please, I love you, Sister Donna. We're going to turn it back over to Dr. Caitlin for her
Okay.
remarks. And then it goes back to our man amongst men, the one and only, my bonus son, Minister Abdul Haqq-Muhammad. Happy 30th anniversary to the Million Man March once again. And to our beloved Minister Louis Farrakhan and Sister Khadijah, happy anniversary. They've been married a whole lot of years. So
Thank you,
it's
Reverend Roundtree.
you're
Thank
Thank you
welcome.
so much. We appreciate that. So my thing is, I think what Sister Caitlin has is so important, and
you.
she was, putting the link. We'll put the links in the chat. So if our sister, you can just close us out in
She
terms of giving that.
actually did. So we'll
Oh,
keep
she
putting
did.
Yeah,
that.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll continue to put that through the show. And Dr. Caitlin, please don't wait for us to call you. You have a lot of
absolutely
great
not.
information. Please, by
Right.
all means, reach out.
Right.
And Minister Hawk, Councilwoman, said, listen, we got some information that your people need to know, and we will make space for you. That
Right.
dental,
Absolutely.
because especially with the dental, that is probably the worst insurance that somebody with the greatest job can
Yes.
have. And knowing that you're going
True.
into the community, that's awesome. So we got to
Yes,
get that. And if
ma'am.
Another
you have a flyer, please get it to us so we can put it on the page so that we can continue to circulate this information.
Thank
Just
you
one
so
quick
much.
thing about
No, thank
I
you.
just have to share this one little story, and then I'll let you guys go. You know, my a very close family member of mine's had a dentist appointment. And when she went to the dentist, her dentist noticed a small blister on her tongue and thought it was odd. And so he scraped it and sent the sample to the lab. And as a result of that, she ended up getting diagnosed with cancer early
Mm.
enough that she is now in remission. And so, you know, I can't emphasize the connection
Wow.
between our oral health and our medical health enough. The mind, the body talks to the mouth, and the mouth talks to the body. And so,
Yeah.
just as much as we emphasize medical care, we also have to emphasize dental care. It's so critically important.
Dr.
Um,
Caitlin,
Mm.
when Dr.
yes,
Webb come back, you make sure you come with her because I knew that. I knew that the mouth was so important. So please,
Mm.
Jonathan, we can make space for them to really talk about the
Oh,
importance because it
absolutely.
seems like there's so little emphasis put on dental, but it's like you said, it's the
Mhm.
opening to everything. And I'm so please come back.
yeah,
And it's also
absolutely,
the thing
absolutely.
that
And I'll try and work on those audio issues. But just to close out, I just wanted to say one thing that
Wait, Jonathan
you.
had a question for you before
Oh
you
yeah,
close.
sure.
no, I was just going to say it is also the thing that is least covered by insurance
I'm sorry, I can't
in
hear
terms of.
Jonathan.
Oh, I was going to say it's also the thing that's least covered by insurance. Can you hear me at all? Oh no, sound is out again. I don't think she can hear me.
He said,
But
Caitlin, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay,
okay,
you said exactly what I said, that it's the least covered by insurance.
and we want
Yes.
to definitely make sure we have you
Yes,
on
indeed.
like on a more regular
But
basis to
thankfully,
talk
we're
about
able
how to access
to
those services.
provide the
And you could,
services.
yeah, he could, and he said that he wants to kind of create a regular space for you to be on so that we can
Okay,
talk about this more. Okay.
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. So what were you going to say
I
in
just want to,
closing?
yeah,
Go
no,
ahead.
I just wanted to thank you again. Thank you, Councilwoman Reverend Roundtree. Thank you to the brothers and sisters on the call for allowing me to join you and talk about the services that we offer. The health department, you know, we take our mission very seriously and we recognize the value of having a public health infrastructure. Our efforts to prevent the spread of disease, to promote health and well being, you know, to provide care and treatment and to protect people will continue because of the commitment of our staff, the partnerships that we nurture, the grant funding that we leverage, the support of our mayor, the administration, our esteemed council, and you know, because the residents of the city deserve it. So thank you for having me.
Thank you,
No,
my
thank you.
sister. And we pray that God continue to make it easy for you, you and all of those that work with you to service the citizens of Newark. So thank you, my sister. Thank you, brother uh, Jonathan, sister Donna, brother Zaid, of course, Reverend Roundtree, and brother Ed. We appreciate you all. May
Thank you,
God be with
Constitution.
us. Nice, and I'm gonna let you.
Minister,
Thank you.
Minister Hawk, before
Yes,
you
ma'am.
leave,
Yes, ma'am.
uh, next month, if you I want to talk a little bit about Pastor Winans. I want to just have a good conversation about offering and giving, okay?
Oh
And
yeah,
the
yeah,
and just why it's important and all of that. But let's have a good conversation about
yeah.
that,
I
okay?
think that'd be very interesting, sister Donna. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
And thank you
Yeah.
for tonight. And uh,
Jonathan, you probably
Reverend
have to
Roundtree,
sign them. You have to sign them out because Reverend Roundtree had to step away and Caitlin is frozen.
okay.
Okay.
So hello.
Yo,
Uh,
Caitlin, you keep
but
popping back. You gonna stay with us all night?
oh, hey. So can you hear
Yeah.
me?
Stuck.
There go my guy. I'm back.
Yeah.
There go my.
Caitlin,
Okay.
wait,
Listen, you
Caitlin was
missed it,
saying
Dr.
bye.
Ham.
Wait,
Dr.
Caitlin was
Ham.
saying bye. She keep
I know,
freezing.
but wait a
Okay.
minute. I don't want her to say bye until Dr. Ham gets a really good hello to her because Dr. Ham, Dr. Ham, Larry is the pure example of what good health care will well, the road it will lead you to, because the health care that he received when his lungs was crushed and all this stuff was going on, brother Jonathan, he was at death's door. But am I right?
That's
And
right.
and and so because he was at death's door and proper health care, and now watch this. After all of that, he listens, Caitlin, director. He listens. She is the director of one of the baddest, most wonderful, most phenomenal health FQHCs in America. And she
Wow.
gave us a plethora of information. Folks don't even know we got a dental van rolling around Newark and a medical van rolling
Wow.
around Newark and all the free services and all the health care and all the housing assistance and all the medical. They don't know. I
Wow.
don't think all politics and local is a
Yeah,
large enough audience, but I'm going to go ahead and yield because Jonathan ain't hit the gavel yet, and I'm already in somebody else's time.
And Caitlin, I will stand with Councilwoman Roundtree, and I will say, and Larry and Chairman won't mind me saying this because he did a whole Facebook tutorial on men being tested for
Prostate.
prostate cancer. And if you will go back and look at his page, how he had the whole diagram and talking about the importance and don't let the scariness of it and everything. So yes, we would love to have you on the talk as well, Chairman, because Councilwoman Roundtree is absolutely right. How you
good
took
stuff.
something that was so personal and made it a learning experience for everybody.
It's real stuff.
Yeah.
Real
It's
stuff.
real.
Right, absolutely, and especially especially now, given all of the cuts to Medicare, the cuts,
Man.
And Chairman,
that are going to be hurting people. So
I'm,
we
I'm sorry,
definitely
Jonathan, but
appreciate
Chairman,
that.
did you hear that they have a mobile unit going around doing dental?
I just heard that.
Yes.
That's innovative. That's going to help a lot of people.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Yep. All right,
Okay.
and so thank you. I think that Donna, do you want to extend this anymore? You got it. A couple of questions.
It wasn't
And
Reverend
yeah, maybe
Roundtree
just one.
extending it.
Because Reverend Roundtree was
Them
like,
two.
"Hey,
Them
we
two,
can go to the
man.
next segment," and Donna was like, "Well, let's get some more questions." And so I was just wondering.
They will bite a hole in your next segment, both of them.
All
but
right.
uh,
There we go.
but Director Alsobrook, we definitely have to have you back. And we need to actually have you back on a more regular basis so that you could talk about some of the services and the things that you do, just to give a regular shout out so that people know and it's part of the culture of what we do. So,
Absolutely. Thank you. I look forward to
thank
it.
you. Okay,
So
much
now watch
appreciated.
what we're going to do. We're going to talk to Ed about a weekly health summit. A week, 5 minutes of health with the director of y'all putting everybody else on. You might as well put some good health on information. Director, we love you. We love you, Jonathan. Thank you for joining us for the Disciples here on All Politics Are Local, America's hip hop number one. Listen, I'm gonna add a Bernice Bass. I'm gonna add a
Oh,
Bernice
Bernie
Bass plug in.
Bass.
Bernice
Okay.
Bass show was called News and Views, and the Honorable Kitty D.
Woo.
Taylor show was called Intergenerational. Let your golden years be your best. So this is something for the young, the old, and all. I don't call nothing old no more but money. But thank you so much, Jonathan. Thank you,
How
brother
old can I
Baba.
be for more money?
And take care. Take
God
care.
bless.
God bless.
Thank you.
Oh,
Hey, so
1430 WNJR.
That's
my
right.
God.
wow.
Look, she
That's
like
right.
Reverend Roundtree. Like you ever
8
heard that from the
a.m.
club? I ain't never really gone. You ever heard him say
Huh?
Roundtree,
Say what?
I used to
Roundtree don't
say,
know. I had a show. I had a show on WNJR.
Oh, really?
oh,
Yes, I had a
I didn't
show
know
on
that.
Ah,
NJR. Yes, and my theme song
see?
was Stevie Wonder, "Living for the City."
oh, that's
Okay.
my living for the
Ah,
city.
I
Yeah.
remember the song. I just probably
Had a
would. What
weekly. I
time
had a
was you
weekly.
on?
I was on about 7 o'clock, and I think it was when Tuesday or Wednesday night.
What
I
years was
think it
that?
was
Okay.
on WNJR. I had my own
What
Oh,
show
years? What years?
from 72 to 74
oh
Oh,
shit.
that was
Yeah.
before
74.
the slow music.
when I was on
No, it
the
wasn't.
school board when I was on the
Yeah,
board.
it's the baby
No, it
back.
wasn't
Oh,
before
man.
because during that period, WWNJR, I mean WNJRW, my mother had a show on.
She just shut
Uh-oh.
herself off. She just shot herself in the foot.
Stop
Okay.
it.
You guys
That's
hear
where
me?
I learned about the 10 pre's on WNJR.
What you doing? Say something
WWNJR.
like
There was,
10
listen, I know
pre's.
all the DJs. Kitty Taylor had me. I was telling Larry yesterday, cousin Kitty had me. She had a radio show. She's my mother's niece. And my mother used to let her drag me around with her. just to be exposed. So she used to carry these little Instamatic cameras,
Be right back.
and she would take pictures all of everybody. If you walked into her office, she'd have collages of pictures. So before she passed, there was a box named labeled Baby Louise, and her daughter-in-law and my other cousin, her son, um, were packing and found this box. And I'd gotten burnt out in 2011. But thanks be to God, this box, I found a picture. I sent it to Larry of me when I was 17, sitting behind the desk at WNJR answering the telephone. I found a picture of, I didn't send this to him, of people like Elaine Brody, Queenie James,
I knew all of
pictures
them.
like that when I was a little kid. She would say, go take these pictures, baby Louise, because my mother was big
Louise
Louise.
Epperson
Louise, I sent you a
and
picture of
Kitty
Louise
Taylor.
Epperson. Yep. Yep.
And
So my
and it's
exposure
interesting,
was
right? Like,
long before I worked for government. I was, because of my mother and Kitty, I was around all these folks, not realizing, because I couldn't play with baby dolls, that, you know how they used to say, sit there and don't say nothing and don't get in grown folks' conversations. Well, I didn't have nothing to play with. And if when I finished writing the ABCs and spelling words, if the meeting was still going on, all I could do was listen to what they say. And I held on to a lot of that stuff. I mean, you'd be surprised. My father used to say to me when he was telling a story, and I'd say, Dad, can I talk to you for a minute? This is what I thought happened. And he'd be like, but you was just a kid. I said, yeah, but this is what I heard. Okay. I would
and
I
and
wouldn't
and
say it in front of
and,
nobody
and,
to get my teeth knocked out. But we have a lot
and
of
that
history. I remember Brother Ham being um, on the school board. I mean,
and
he's a
and
little older, but I wanted to wear the dashiki and afro
and
too. Go ahead,
And I
Brother
was going to say
John.
that, and I was going to say the history actually leads us right into our next segment, right? Like when
Yes,
we're
sir.
talking about the politics, right? Like the next segment we've been working toward for, about 20 minutes, but it's all good because it actually does flow right into it, right? We have an election coming up. And we have a unique situation that I think that like and Larry, the reason why I wanted you on is really what the conversation that was going on just now. There's a lot of history that's there. There's a lot
Mhm.
of people that are mentioned. When you were mentioning the UNDMJ, you were mentioning a lot of people who had a lot of fights and a lot of struggles in
Right?
different times. And I'm a debate coach. I look at a bunch of articles. We make predictions about stuff that happens, and the just trying to get what's going on right now and how you see it based on what you've seen in struggles that were possibly more protracted, but before this, right? And there are a couple of articles. The couple of articles that I've been reading. I read a work in the Atlantic by Barton Gellman in like 2001,
Mhm.
2021, 2021.
Mhm.
And it was talking about the next coup has already begun. And in it, he details the people who were arrested on 1/6, and
Mhm.
there was a study that was done on them, like interviews that were done on them, and they looked at their background. And overall, they weren't from red states. They weren't from districts where Trump won. The big correlation of the people who went down there on 1/6 almost, and it said that it was very striking, and it was true of almost every person who was arrested. They were from districts where the white population had decreased.
Mm.
And when he talked about other things about people, what they showed in common was that they believed that black and brown people were going to replace them. And they started looking at like on the popular right wing, and really
Mhm.
not even right wing, we're just talking about Fox News, like mainstream, like Fox News is the mainstream, and we're talking about mainstream media outlets, and the media outlets that a lot of the country listens to is promoting replacement theory. So you have this wide ranging, this one article says basically it concludes that about 20 million white people in the United States, and this is a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist.
who is concluding this. It's that there are about 20 million white people in the United States who are ready to do violence against the government because they believe that the 2020 election was stolen, right? And it was scary but compelling, right? That like they were ready to do that. Combine that with the more recent things, right, of the Supreme Court being able to ruling only a few weeks ago that racial profiling was legitimate. Like ICE agents could pull you over, stop you if you looked like you could be undocumented. Sotomayor wrote a scathing dissent. Kavanaugh is the person who wrote who issued a statement, right? Because it wasn't there's a case that's ongoing, but they ruled that it could
And it's
continue.
look and sound it, right?
Well, not and, or, right?
Or
So
look
it
or.
wasn't and, it was if you look like you're Latino, if you speak like Spanish, if you are at Home Depot, right? If you're in one of the places where undocumented people work, right? Like so there were things that they could use, and it didn't have to be and, it was or, which means that everybody on this call looks like we could be undocumented to somebody who is to someone who's there, right? To someone who's an ICE agent and thinks that part of their job is to be slave catchers for this time and round people up and get people, right? And the justification was there are a lot of undocumented people in Los Angeles. Since there's so many, like 1 in 10, so you might as well question them all and sort of like literally said question them all and let God sort them out. Pick them all up and the case that they're and the case that they're talking about is the case where a Latino gentleman who spoke Spanish, had a Spanish accent, but was an American citizen, was asked for his citizenship, was asked like, hey, are you American? And he's like, yeah, like show us some documents. Where were you born? Right? He's like, I'm not telling you, right? Like he thought he had some rights. And so what they did is they yoked him up, they slammed him on the ground, they roughed him up, and he was like, I'll show you my ID, I'll give you my ID. He was scared. He showed them his ID, they took his ID, they didn't give it back. They held him for a couple hours and then they let him go. Right? And that's the case that was before the Supreme Court. And that's the case where Kavanaugh and the majority of the Supreme Court justices were like, because the case was just stop them from doing this, because the ICE, the Homeland Security, was like, we have a right to be able to stop on these terms. Like basically, we need to be able to racially profile. And instead of course, you can't racially profile and be like, nah, you can't, because you look Latino and sound Latino, we can stop you, which we know gets extended to you could look black and sound black or sound like an immigrant. All of us look and sound like we could be immigrants, right? To people's eyes. White people could be immigrants too, but we know that's not what they're talking about. Right? We know that's not what they're talking about. A lot of white immigrants, a lot of immigrants from Europe, et cetera, who are undocumented, right? But they're not. But that's not the case. Like they don't necessarily have to worry because they are focused on us.
They're okay.
Right. And so when we're looking at what's going on now, we had someone on from Chicago. We had an activist on from Memphis a couple of weeks ago, and in Chicago, it was like. When they raided that building and they marched out American citizens, including kids, in zip ties at 2 a.m. And a woman is talking about that, and she's talking about like, yo, you're marching people out at 2 a.m. You can't do that. But the Supreme Court decision is the justification, right? Like if I suspect, then if I have a warrant for an individual, that's fine. But if I don't, and you seem like there are a lot of people in here who are undocumented. A lot of people in this building who are undocumented. So I'm gonna kick in the doors, right? And the people who I get, because there were American citizens put in there too, right? So they had some apartments, but they knocked down a lot of apartments, right? That where there were American citizens, marched out kids, 2 a.m. And people getting picked up on the street, people getting harassed on the street. We saw the vendors who were getting harassed in New York City, right? And we had the activist on from Memphis that, and the way she described it was even worse. She was on this program a couple of weeks back, and she
And so,
described, right, and she described Memphis as being a place where people are just trying to duck because they have a Republican governor who supports the types of searches that are going on. And what they're doing is
and the
like what
black
happened in
mayor and
Ferguson,
black police chief are also cooperating.
and cooperating in the point of to the point where people don't even want to go outside. Because if you're black, right, if you're a black US citizen, you were going to be stopped, you were going to be pulled over, you were going to be ticketed, as was done in Ferguson. In Ferguson, the Justice Department that investigated Ferguson was like they were ticketing black people and stopping black people so much that they were literally funding City Hall on the backs of black people with all those tickets.
Right.
Like everybody you go out, you get a ticket, and you get arrested because they're searching you like that. They're gonna find something, right? They're gonna find some, like if you have weed on you, right? Or if you have something that's petty, and something that's petty automatically gets blown up into something far more serious, right? And so that's what's going on in Memphis right now, where black people are being targeted and harassed and fined and fined and fined in ways that are just bloody. What, like, is the situation that's going on right now, where you have this unprecedented, you have white, what it seems like this is a program to satisfy white nationalists, and they believed that the United States was too black and too brown, and that it was going to be majority minority by 2040. That they are doing two things. They are first trying to get rid of as many brown black people as possible, so that there's not going to be that that like whole 2040 thing, a majority minority thing. They're trying to make
Hmm.
sure that that doesn't happen. And as a failsafe, with the things that they're doing to get rid of black representation in Congress,
Mhm.
like what they're doing in Texas, when they literally are trying to get rid of seats of black Congress members and make them disappear in the red states. When they're literally doing that right now, um, that they're trying to create a situation like apartheid, like where there is literally white minority rule, where where the majority of people who are white and the majority of people in rural states, et cetera, will have the majority of power, even if they are not a majority of the people, right? Similar to what's going on, has always gone on, right? In places like, I didn't realize before that Mississippi has the highest percentage of black people in the country to the population, close to 30%, followed by Louisiana. Like those are the two most, not in terms of numbers, but in terms of percentage of the population,
Right. Right.
right? So you would think that these states with so many high percentage of black people who vote wouldn't be red state. They'd be more like Georgia, that would be purplish. But they have made a concerted effort to make sure that many people cannot vote, petty felonies, etc. And you have your voting rights taken away. They have the highest. They also have the highest rates of people who've lost their voting rights. It's like
Mm,
not a coincidence. Highest rates of black people, highest rates of people who've lost their voting rights due
mm,
to felony disenfranchisement.
mm.
Given what is going on now, as bad as it seems to be, is it worse than the things that you faced uh, in the late 60s, early 70s? Is it worse than what was going on before the 1964 Civil Rights Act, the 1965 Voting Rights Act? And I ask that because it seems like this is a rollback that is taking us to those times.
Well, I think you described it aptly. I mean, is it as bad as it was, say, in 1949? I was born in 53, so Jim Crow was still in effect, not coming to a legal end until 1964. But even the legal part took a while to set in. So, 1949, 50, 51, 52, early 50s, black people were still being lynched. Um, I'd say we're pretty close to as bad because you know what's happened? The extra legal lynchings have been replaced by police lynchings.
That's right.
And the numbers of people that the police are killing in the United States is astronomical compared to other advanced industrialized countries. Last year in 2024, police killed 1,445 people in the United States, according to the Gun Violence Archive. That's the largest number of people killed by the police since they started keeping statistics in 2013. So it matches, maybe even exceeds the numbers of Black people that were being killed every year by extra legal lynchings, say from the end of the 19th century through the 1950s. I mean, the police are killing on average now. I mean, last year with the highest number, but the year that George Floyd was killed, it was 1,100 people. So they're killing on average now about 1,200 people a year. And that's pretty close to the pace that Black people were being lynched, at the end of the 19th century, let's say prior to World War One. So Black people are still being killed. We are actually in greater numbers in jail than we were in the 1930s. The Black jail, the Black incarcerated population up until 1966 was roughly equal to our percentage of the population. It was a little above 10%. But with the advent of the Rockefeller drug laws, the war on drugs, the militarization of the police after the uprisings of the 1960s, by I would say the end of the 1970s, there were more than 1 million Black men in federal prisons. We were about 50% of the federal prison population, and
And what year was this?
an even higher percent of the state prison. Like right now, Black and brown men, or Black and brown people, not just men, are roughly 70% of the state prison population. As far as segregation is
And you're saying
concerned,
right now that's the number?
yes, right now. And beyond that, nearly 6 million Black people are under some form of authority of the criminal justice system, either incarcerated, in halfway houses, on parole, on probation. And 6 million is a significant portion. That's more than 5% of the Black population in the United States. So, and then when you look at segregation, yes, we had legal segregation, but believe it or not, Black people are more segregated in America today than we were in the 1960s. The rate of segregation has actually increased, but it's not de jure. See, that's what we destroyed during the civil rights movement. We destroyed a legal infrastructure that enforced racial segregation. That edifice of laws was declared unconstitutional. And so, the segregation, even though it's no longer legalized, it continues apace. And the irony is now that there's more segregation in the North than there is in the South. New Jersey is about the sixth most racially segregated state in the nation.
Fifth.
The school system, the public schools in the state of New Jersey are about the fifth most segregated.
That's right.
And New York is right there with us, maybe in front of us. New York State may be even more racially segregated. So when you look at conditions, it's hard to make a strong argument that things are better. I guess we could say that in one sense, things are better in the sense that there was an expansion of the Black middle class in the aftermath of the 1960s, in the aftermath of the passage of the Voting Rights Act, the Civil Rights Act, the Higher Education Act, the Fair Housing Act, and on and on and on. More Black people were able to get to college. More Black people were able to get quote unquote middle class jobs. More Black people were able to get in the working class. You know, for us, an upward move wasn't just from the working class to the middle class. An upward move was from the ranks of the poor and the underclass into the working class. You know, most of the Black middle class was not created initially through white collar jobs. It was created through blue collar jobs.
Right.
Black people were getting jobs at Engelhart Industries, at Ford Mawa, at GM Linden, the post office. The post office was a major. This is one of the reasons why Trump is hitting hard at the government, because the government jobs were a path to the middle class for a lot of Black people. You know, when I say middle class, I'm talking about increase in income, you know, roughly lower middle class or whatever, however you want to cut that pie, you
Enough
know,
to
but
become a
it
home.
was a step up. And that step up continued apace with the economic boom that took place in the United States after World War II. In the aftermath of World War II, the other industrialized powers, Germany, France, England, etc., they had destroyed themselves. They had destroyed their economic base. This is what the Marshall Plan was all about. The Marshall Plan was all about the US coming in and helping them to put their economic base back together, but plugged into the United States economic machine and, you know, get back on their feet. But in the aftermath of World War II, with the destruction of Europe, the United States emerged as the top economic dog and had an unprecedented, unmatched in the history of the United States, a period of economic growth that about topped off around the mid 1970s. And since the mid 1970s, we have been on a roller coaster between economic stagnation and economic decline. We've had about, I would say, probably 9 recessions in the last 30 years. And some people are saying we're on the way to another great recession or perhaps a depression. You know, so all of this is in play and has a lot to do, you know, with what you were talking about. But what is, and I'm going to speak for myself here. I'm not speaking for anybody but me. What is unprecedented is the political constitutional crisis that we face right now. We have a person who literally tried to overthrow the government, tried to mount a coup, failed, and then made a comeback and is
Right.
getting ready to do the same thing over again. If you think we may not even have midterm elections. And if we have midterm elections, we might not have an election in 2028. And if there are elections, they're going to be so rigged. They're trying to put in place right now a system that will make it impossible for Democrats to win elections for the next 10 years. And they're saying openly that Trump is going to have a third term, even though the Constitution says that there's only supposed to be one term. I mean, it's unprecedented. They had a meeting in Quantico, Virginia, called together 800 generals, and then told those generals, your major mission is no longer to protect us from foreign enemies. Your major mission now is to protect us from the enemy within. And they're talking about us. And not only to protect from the enemies within, but to use their cities as training grounds for the military.
Right.
I mean, all of this is unprecedented, and it's in our face. And what they've done is they've been on a mission since the Goldwater election of 1964, when the Republican Party aligned itself with the John Birch Society, which was kind of like the white collar Ku Klux Klan. You know, these people didn't want to be in the Klan, at least openly, so they're going to be John Birchers, you know, ultra conservatives. And they've been on that vector ever since. Aligned with the Birch Society, the Southern strategy, go after the conservative racist Democrats and build and build. The MAGA is just an extension of the Tea Party. It's just an extension of the Tea Party. This thing has been in motion. And Zaid was the one that pointed this out to me some months ago, maybe several years ago. He reminded me that the Black Panther Party had a convention against fascism in 1969.
That's right.
The Black Panther Party was talking about fascism. And everybody was saying, oh, you exaggerating. But now we know, because we know more about the history of fascism now, because people have been studying it, you know, and fascism is as old in the United States as the ideology of fascism is. Fascism created as an ideology whipped up by Mussolini at the beginning of the 20th century. Hitler wasn't the first one. Mussolini was the first one. Hitler was his student. And this was a situation where the student exceeded the teacher, because ultimately the Nazis had to go in and rescue Mussolini because they had put him in jail. And the Nazis went in and broke him out of jail and brought him back to Germany with plans to reinstall him. They did actually get him back in there, but eventually the anti-fascist movement in Italy caught Mussolini and his wife and hung them from street lamps in the towns in Italy. You know, so, you know, we're at a situation. This situation, but this is not the first time America has had coups. There was a coup in Wilmington, North Carolina. There was a populist movement where they had a black-white alliance, and the populists got control of the city council, and the Klan went in and did in Wilmington what they did in Black Wall Street in Tulsa. The only difference is they ran the government out of town. They ran them out and literally just went in and sat down in their seats and said, "We the government now." And the irony of it is that the person who led the coup in Wilmington, North Carolina, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, chose him to be, I forgot which secretary of one of the departments. He put him in his cabinet. I think it was Secretary of the Navy. He put him in his cabinet. You know, so this thing has roots, but the difference is that they're actually in power now. They are actually in power. I mean, just look at what Trump is doing. What he's doing with the White House is a metaphor for what he's doing to the country. He tearing down the White House. He tearing down the White House like he tearing down the country. I don't understand how they're getting away with that. There was a train station in East Orange. People in East Orange been trying to get that train station rehabbed and open for 30 years. You know why they can't? Because the train station is a historical site, and you can't take one tile off that train station unless you can replace it with the same kind of tiles that were used when the train station was constructed. So there are historical regulations. There are regulations. There are laws that say you can't just tear down national monument. The White House is a national monument. He only been in office 9 months. How's he tearing down the wing of the White House? tearing that down. But the other thing that people should not sleep on, he talking about the ballroom. Under the ballroom, he's building a new bunker. Why would he be building a new? What do you need bunkers for? Where was Hitler when they tried to capture Hitler? He was in a bunker in Berlin, I believe, at the time. Man, this thing is so deep. People who are even aware, I don't think understand how deep this thing is. You know, what we're getting ready to go through. These people are trying to set up, you said it right, Jonathan, but there's one difference here. And this is a difference that I have failed to point out. Because whenever I'm talking, most of the time I'm talking to black people, and I have to convince a lot of black people that not Hitler, that's a Freudian slip, that Trump is coming after them. They don't think Trump is coming after them. So I got to talk to the black people and show them that Trump is coming after them. But here's the difference. One of the difference between the fascists and, let's just say, plain old racists is that the fascists, they are like the racists. They go after the black people and anybody that's not like them, but they also go after everybody who opposes them. Everybody, white, black, red, brown, yellow. If you listen to Trump, you got to listen to him. He says, the Democrats, I got to go after the Democrats. I'm going to shut down Democrat regulation. And then he tries to label the whole Democratic Party as leftists and Marxists. The Marxist Democrat. He going after Comey is not black. The former FBI director that investigated, he's not black. And he's going at, Trump has a hit list. Nancy Pelosi on that list. In fact, they just announced, the Justice Department just announced they're going to do investigation of Nancy Pelosi. He's going after everybody that he thinks is his enemy.
So one thing I wanted to bring the conversation around to is the elections that we're dealing with now. Ed is actually at the event where both candidates are campaigning at Metropolitan Baptist Church, and that's going on right now. And Ed is there recording it. There are a lot of people who say that the state election has nothing to do with the national election. The stuff that's going on in Chicago.
I'm sorry, Jonathan, just for clarity, since you said it for the audience, what candidates? Governor Mikey Sherrill,
right, the Republican candidates for governor, Mikey Sherrill and Chitterelli.
Y'all still calling her Sherrill? Y'all got the Sherrills on you now.
Mikey
on your mind.
Mikey Sherrill.
Her name is Mikey Sherrill. I don't know why.
Mikey Sherrill, because it's black.
People gonna be going to the polls. They gonna be looking for Sherrill.
Right.
Sherrill is not on
like that. Right, but I mean, you don't know it unless you say it, right? You know, like the Sherrills, right? Like,
they're gonna be looking for the Sherrills. But go ahead. I'm sorry, Jonathan. I just wanted to make that clarification.
So when you're looking at the governor's race, there are a lot of people.
And I'm sorry, and welcome Professor Carter, because she came while Sharon was talking.
She was on time.
And welcome. And there were a lot of people who were like, this election is not the national election. Jack Ciattarelli is not Trump. The Democrats don't do anything for us anyway. And a lot of the statistics that you were talking about happened under Democrats and Republicans. When you're talking about prisons, you're talking about policing, you're talking about a lot of those things happened under both. What is at stake right now in both of your opinions, Professor Carter's opinion and Lawrence Hamm's opinion? What is at stake right now in specific terms in this election? And are we just scaring people again? Or like a lot of people are like, you're always trying to scare me to vote for a candidate.
I'm
You're always trying to scare me to vote for one or another.
Me. I'm scared already.
Well, talk to me about it, and then we'll start with you, Professor Carter, and then because we don't have much time left because we do have another guest on at 8. So what is at stake in the election right now?
Well, I think that there's been a lot of crying wolf for a long time, right? If you ask me, and this is my opinion, Democrat, Republican. I'm James M. Toomey, two wings on the same bird. The Republicans will rob the bank without a mask on. The Democrats will drive the getaway car and act like they're not on it. And the problem is, one of the major problem is, and having grown up with people who were sharecroppers, people who had fled the Ku Klux Klan, where I lived at when I grew up. And, they understood how to make government accountable. And if they didn't, the opportunities that you all have to get your paychecks, to get material things you would not have. I can tell you that the teachers in the segregated South and sharecropping communities made sure that students, because the largest students in the spring, the largest students, the older ones, had to go and help their father and mother in terms of, paying back the people who own the land. These teachers made sure that 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds or the small children understood civics and the power of it, in light of the fact that neither they, their parents, or their grandparents could even be second-class citizens. And so in terms of who these people loved us all without knowing us, put their labor on the line. These are the individuals who came through the Great Migration, who came to these cities and made it possible for you to have Black elected officials. Some people call them the Miss Leadership class now, 2025. They made it possible for all of us. They opened the doors of opportunity that you all have taken advantage. We all have taken advantage, because we ain't opened the doors. And so we lost that knowledge that they had, on top of the fact that they took, in terms of urban schools, they took civics out on purpose, right? So you have a population. I've been teaching political science, civics and government for a long time. I can tell you that most people don't know what the Constitution says. There's something else.
Jonathan, can you mute it? I'm sorry, Professor Carter.
Okay, so Ed is covering the event line.
Okay, I know.
But what we want to do is bring this back to this election. Bring this to the election.
I'm telling you, if you don't understand history, you're going to repeat it, and we ain't ready. We are not ready at all. The only thing I would suggest to people, if you have not read, and I know people don't like to read, and the social media has you just your attention spans, if you haven't read 2025 by now, you should have read it, in which case you wouldn't have the angst and surprise that people keep having, and the stress they keep having about these surprises. That's the first thing. That's most important. Right now, we need to get prepared for what's going to happen. I don't want it to happen. I want to be totally wrong. I want people to call me up and say, Professor Carter, you were wrong. But everything that Larry said, right, is actually where we are right now. And in terms of this election, as he said, these elections are going to be about optics at this point. It's going to give you the illusion that we're going to have an election. Larry mentioned before, if we have a midterm election, it will be assuming, people are going to think we're in a midterm election, but it's not going to be real based on where they're going. We're hoping that this doesn't happen. But I can tell you what I know about what people know in terms of what their power is in their civic position. We're very weak. And so there are things that we need to be thinking about, like mutual benefit society.
I'm sorry, Professor Carter, I'm sorry, John.
Before we do that, though, I just want to jump in, because Ed is at the event and he was trying to get in. So I'm just going to unmute him and see what's going on there before we come back.
For years, and he was seeing his electricity rates go up from, I think, about $140 to over $300. And you can't budget for that as you're planning for your retirement. So that's why I'm working to drive down the electricity prices. Make sure people have more stable property taxes. But I think what we're seeing is so much distress in the community that we're going to have to come up with other programs to ensure that people can stay in apartments. I was speaking to one retired woman who told me that the rent in her apartment went up so much that she had to go back to work out of retirement. And not everybody's going to be able to do that. So again, taking on landlords who are polluting, I'm going to keep working on all these programs to drive down prices, but some people are still going to need more help. And
he just I think he thinks because I'm talking to Kim. So, but Professor Carter, here's the question I was going to ask you. Is there a possibility that there was an illusion of the last election? Because I'm even with the lawsuit that's going on in upstate New York, where people had a down ballot of all Democrats, and Democrats got elected, but then you get to the president, and Vice President Harris didn't get one election, but everything else was, if you read that case, that every other Democrat on that line. But how was it that in some cases she didn't get one vote? So is there a possibility that the illusion already happened?
We've probably been in it for a minute. The fact we think there's a two-party system is a problem right there. Right.
So if that's true, then why vote in this election?
Hold on, Ms. Austin. We're not making elected officials accountable. I just heard some of the piece. What they're doing is telling us what the issue should be. We're not making them accountable because most of us don't know how. Most Americans, not even Black people, don't know the language of politics and government. So whatever they're saying, it's like Farsi, right? They don't know the language. They don't even know what the Constitution says, and don't even talk about the state. People don't know what their power is. And that's how we got in the situation. Trump just happens to be the tool of the time. I can tell you there were papers in 1971, 1973 that outline things that we're at now. One is the Powell Memorandum, he became Justice Powell, and it was on behalf of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, written in 1971, 1973. Then you had another paper commissioned by the oligarchs at that time called Crisis and Democracy, in response to the Black Power movement, the Young Lords, the women's movement, anti-war movement, and a host of other ones. This was written in response to that, saying basically, you guys, because at that time, everybody knew civics. So, and they knew what their strengths were. That's how you got the Black Panthers. That's how you got the anti-war movement. They knew what their constitutional rights were, and they were trying to make government accountable, right? You don't have that now. So now we're in crisis mode. And, people, I just heard somebody today say, well, Trump, hold on, somebody's going to get rid of him. And I said, but see, Peter Thiel, those of you who do the Airbnb, Peter Thiel has actually been grooming Vance to take his place. So, I can't stress enough, and that's not why I came on. I came on to talk about the Voting Rights Act, but for all the potential purposes, they are lawless. They don't care. The only thing you have to do is, and we don't have a blueprint. I just happened to read Ralph Nader's book. Go ahead.
I know that we're coming to the end. So I just wanted you to talk about, like, I know we're getting ready to go into the next segment, but just does this election in New Jersey, the gubernatorial race, does it matter?
Yes.
Should people vote? How should they vote?
Yeah.
And what's at stake?
Okay. The problem is to wait to the last minute to do things, but you're right. It's going to make a difference. This one and the one in Virginia. Already the Democratic Party, there are two women running, right? And for the most part, people were saying that there are moderate Democrats. The problem with New Jersey, basically, if you want a Democrat, if Black folks don't get out, we don't get a Democrat. That's been it since I've been voting since 1972. I know. I can tell you that both of them make a difference, not a major difference unless we make them accountable. But both of these elections are serious. That's why the Republican Party is putting so much money in this, so much money in it, because they know. And it's not so much Citarelli. He just happened to almost make it the last time with Murphy, and Murphy almost blew it. 3 days before the election, his numbers started tumbling over him, making it a requirement that children take the vaccine. Not that their parents wouldn't have done it, but they weren't feeling their children taking that vaccine. And so 3 days before Murphy's numbers started, nobody knew who Citarelli was. The problem now, Citarelli's signs are all up in Newark, in the West Ward, in the South Ward, right? So we're not planning. We're waiting for a midterm election and I have to tell you, when I heard the 2025, I didn't hear a Democrat mention it till 2023 December.
We know how bad this is. So
these papers have existed. All this information is based on Trump coming, because it's not about Trump. Everybody's confused. Trump's doing what he's been doing for 50 years. He's just doing it to America. But right now, it's time to figure out what we're going to do regardless who's in. And there's some basic things, and we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We may have to update information, but the people who preceded us, one, they weren't so beholden to this capitalist system. See, we done bought into all this material stuff. We're not willing to do the work and put our lives on the line. Because I can, you know, what I'm saying right now, if we're not willing, if we're not willing to make the sacrifices, we might as well all get on a train and go down to DC and let them do whatever they're going to do. That's where we are right now. That's how much of a crisis it is.
And I thank you, Professor Carter. We're getting ready to move on to the next segment. I'm just going to go on to the just to see where they're at in this particular thing, and then we're going to move on to our next guest. But Professor Carter, we're going to have you back where we could actually have a segment that is dedicated to what you wanted to talk about.
My whole 30 minutes, you guys let Larry take my stuff. I'm gonna get
it was put in at a you know at different time. So we're gonna need to schedule where you just have a segment where you can
thank you, Mr. Austin.
All right, so thank you. Bye. And let's see what's going on with Ed. So Ed, is this it looks like this is over. They're finished up. Oh, Ed is muted himself. I think it looks like they're finished up with that segment right now. So we're going to get ready to have our guest on that's in the background. So as we shift from the political to culture. All right. So Kim, are you there? Well, no, Kim is they're actually muted.
I'm texting her right now.
Okay.
Let me see.
All right. So we're going to move to our next segment right now because it looks like they're actually done. And I know, Donna, you want to do anything to stall from getting onto the segment on time.
Just knock it off.
I got to
go ahead, because I'm going to step away for once. Because bring the 8 o'clock up. I'm going to step.
But I got to get ready to get out of here.
All right. So Zaid, where are you at right now?
I'm in East Orange, but me and Adema was supposed to be in Jersey City for Andrew Washington's family.
Okay, great. And
well, introduce and I'll be right back.
All right. So okay. So everyone so I brag about you a lot. Our next guest is a writer.
We can't hear you.
She can't hear
you. You can't hear me?
We can't hear you.
Oh, try coming out and in again. You could tell her to come out and in again.
She can't.
He can't hear you. I can't hear you. Maybe I cannot hear you.
Zai, can you hear her? Can you hear me?
I can hear her, but she's not hearing either one.
I'm not hearing you, John.
Okay, so try going out and coming back in again. I think it's the same problem that we had. Could you ask her if she could hear Donna?
She can't hear me.
I can hear you.
Oh, you can hear us?
Yes.
Great, do this. Go out and try and come back in on another browser.
Oh, crap.
Do you just have Safari or do you have Chrome?
We got you. Just take a minute. It's all right.
No, it's okay. I don't have Chrome on my laptop. So.
Oh, yeah.
Chrome will it work on Firefox?
Yes, probably.
He's saying
Let me try it on Firefox.
Yeah, try it on that.
I could hear him before. I don't know what happened now. So, all right.
We were having the same problem with our last guest as well. All right. Yeah, we were having the same problem with our last guest as well, and in terms of getting in and out. But this election is real interesting because I think that there are so many people who aren't putting together certain pieces that are being put together against us. As in, you have an administration that is literally saying that and as bad as things are before, right? Like when Larry's talking about these statistics of how many Black people are in prison, how we're targeted, all these things, all true. These are things that people who've been involved have been fighting for, and have been fighting against for years, right? We have these particular struggles that we are, but it seems like it's been taken to a new level when you have someone openly, the Supreme Court openly ruled that racial profiling legal, legit, encouraged, and you have ICE having so much money and so many troops on the ground and so many prison spaces that they can do that. So these things just get scarier and scarier. All right, so Faith, can you hear me now?
Yes. Oh, yes, I can.
Very
Okay,
good.
great.
Welcome back, Queen.
So let me give the wonderful introduction. Faith Pennick is a writer and a filmmaker, did incredible documentary films, and has also and is also a writer. And she is also someone with an incredible musical ear and can hear the future. The book that she wrote was on Voodoo, and it's for the series of 33 and a Third. And she wrote a book on the D'Angelo, the classic D'Angelo album, Voodoo. And I think that it is the most underrated album to be made. I think that, and so when the album came out, uh, Faith was talking about how important that particular album was. She was like, "Oh my God, have you heard this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's great." I was like, "But I don't know where to place it, but it's cool. Like there's some parts." She was like, "No, no, no, you must not have been listening. Like this is not just the entire history of Black music; it's the future of Black music. It is the most thoughtful." And I was like, but as the years passed and I look back at the album, I'm like, I think I called you like 10 years later. And I was like, you're
Yeah.
right. It's like everybody caught up, right? Or started to catch up and realize
We
what
need
was
you with
going
us.
on,
We
right?
need Faith with us tomorrow in New York City. I'm going to be at a traditional African spiritual conference, one day conference, and Voodoo will be one of the areas that we're going to lift up with some strong Voodoo priestess. You would
But
really fit in with that.
but,
Go
but
ahead.
that's
Finish
the
it.
title of the D'Angelo album. So I'm not sure
Right.
I was saying,
if,
I'm not an expert on
if the link.
Voodoo. I don't.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure about the link. Voodoo is the title of D'Angelo's album
Oh, okay.
from
Yes.
like 20
Okay.
year ago. So,
I always
but
want to
it
see
was
that
but it was
sausage
an
in there.
album. It's a musical album that was way ahead of its time, right? So D'Angelo, he just passed away, and there's a lot of retrospective people talking about what his legacy was, right? I just saw Robert Glasper and Bilal a couple of days ago at the Blue Note, and of course the tributes are all in, right, because of his importance and what he meant to so many. So. Thank
And
you,
that's where the
Faith.
song "How Does It Feel" was on that album. Huh.
Yes, Untitled.
Oh
Right, right,
wow.
right.
Okay.
Yes.
So, right.
Mhm.
So, Faith, welcome to Faith Pennick. Welcome to All Politics Are Local. I hope I gave you a worthy introduction,
Yeah, it
because
was
I think
lovely.
that because
Well,
I
you
think
should
that
have. I
you
don't know
you
if you
are
seen her
really.
bat while you were talking about it. She was batting her eyes.
Because it has been it is you were truly ahead of your time on this. You were truly ahead of your time in looking at music. So when you wrote the essay for 33 and a third
It was a
on
book, not just an essay.
yeah, oh right, when you wrote the book on 33 and a third, and you about the album, I think that was just fitting because I don't think there was anyone in America who could write that book but you.
Oh, thank you. I guess Bloomsbury, the publisher, agreed with you. So, yes. Well, thank you for having me. I wish it was under not as sad circumstances. Yeah. Anyway, let's go. I don't want to
So
So,
drag it
but you
on.
know
so
what, Faith?
yeah.
Let me
Yes.
jump in because if Jonathan, you knew her and then you didn't get it, and then it took you, like you said, 10 years. So fast forward, D'Angelo passes. What were some of your immediate thoughts? Because I know I was listening to his name is another author, and I'm gonna tell you in a second. His name is gonna come to me, but he's from Brooklyn. And he was talking about enough of giving everybody their flowers afterwards. This brother was so phenomenal. Even he shrunk back because when they were trying to sexualize him and all that in the music industry, he's like, no, I don't want that. I want you to hear my music. And so when you hear that he's passed, knowing how like you had already delved into this artist, what was some of the first things that came to your mind, like emotionally? Take us through that day when you heard it.
Yeah, that was a lot. Well, first of all, my friend, ironically, I will, if you read the book, I do a whole chapter on the Untitled video. And it starts with my friend Laura from Chicago, who called me. This was, I think, in late 1999. And she's like, turn on MTV. And I was like, what? I got to go to work. What are you talking about? And I turn on, and the Untitled video is on. And this is the first time I've seen it. And I was like, ah. So anyway, I won't get into all that. But weirdly enough, she is the one, Laura, that called me last Tuesday to say that D'Angelo had died. And my first reaction was disbelief, to be honest. It was like sort of, what? No. And I actually, because I was at work at the time, and I ran out of the office, and I shouldn't admit this, but I sort of threatened her. I was on the phone with her saying, if you're wrong about this, I will get on a plane to Chicago and kill you. I mean, it's like, luckily she took it well. I think she understood the situation. And unfortunately, it was confirmed that he had passed away. And I pretty much disassociated on a certain level, just so I could get through the day and deal with work. And I had interviews that day, and I was just like, and I couldn't just bawl, which is sort of what I wanted to do. So I think I just sort of shut down for pretty much a week. I think it finally hit me yesterday, where I sort of let myself go, and I cried. I did a hard cry over D'Angelo dying. It's tough. It's a tough loss, because I actually wrote to his manager, Alan Leeds. I had interviewed him for the book, and I was sending my condolences. And I wrote to him, I said that D'Angelo was the musical equivalent of a rare diamond. And I believe that. I think he's one of those artists, he's not gonna be emulated, replaced, replicated. He was his own entity, even though he loved Prince, he loved Stevie Wonder, he loved Sly Stone, he loved gospel, jazz. He meshed all that together in his music, particularly on Voodoo. Even with all those influences, D'Angelo stood alone, particularly, as far as Gen Xers, Gen X artists. I mean, he was the gold standard as far as R&B music, and some would argue music, period. Actually, I would argue that. So his loss, and particularly at 51, he was so young, and he only put out 3 studio albums. I mean, not to take away from obviously the loss of his family and his friends are experiencing. That's profound, and I offer them my deepest condolences. But I mean, we lost so much as far as the music we could have had, not with D'Angelo passing. And I mean, it's a hard. I don't know if I'm ever going to get over it, to be completely honest.
When you're looking at, but let's take you back further, right? Let's take you back to, you just heard the album, like you saw the video, right?
Mm-hmm.
You heard the album for the first time. What happened, and what are your thoughts about it? Because I want you to really start talking about what you talked about in the book. I want
In
you
the book.
And let's promote 33 1/3 Voodoo, right? That people should get and read that essay that is
book. It's a book.
It's on my the book, right? The book that is on my Kindle.
Essay,
Right. Fair. The book that is on my Kindle, right?
Book. Okay. Pages.
Yes, absolutely.
Book.
Absolutely.
No.
Pages. Book. Right.
Sorry.
Right.
Well, I mean, those are 2 different questions, Jonathan. I mean, the first time seeing the video versus the first time hearing the album, because I saw the video, I think, 3 months before the album, like 2 or 3 months before the album came out. So seeing the video, as I think pretty much any straight Black woman will tell you who also saw the video, it was, where has this been all my life? Like, oh my God. Like, yes, and thank you, and more, please. It was just, to see that level of vulnerability and raw sexuality, but not in a hyper masculine way. And I think that was because I mean, you had a whole bunch of brothers who were like showing their, six packs off. You had DMX, you had 50 Cent, you had Tupac, you had, and LL Cool J wouldn't like walk out of his house without having his shirt off. So this was not the first.
That's right.
Let's remember. No, but so this was not the first time, this black man with his shirt off, showing his great body, blah, blah, blah. But I sort of wrote this in the book, like his body was a present. It was a gift. And the gift and the receiver of that gift was a woman, and particularly black women. And we received that and we're like, yes. So yeah, it was just totally like, please come to my house. My address is blah, 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 Brooklyn, New York. I will be here whenever you need me to be. I think that was almost the universal reaction. And just really just jaws dropping. I think I actually talk about in the book about, one time I called my sister and the video was on and I could hear it in the background and she just went silent. And I was like, hello, hello, hello. Another time I called my hairdresser, same thing. You could hear the Untitled video was on in her salon. You could hear a pin drop. You know what I mean? Beauty salons, with black women, that can get loud. And you didn't hear a thing except, how does it feel? And I was like, oh, they're watching the video. Okay. So I would just wait. I was just like, okay, well, the song's half over. I'll just and it kept repeating and repeating and repeating. So I mean, the video was its own zeitgeist moment, right?
And I didn't know that the video came out so far before the album.
The video came out like late 99, like I think October, November of 99, and the album came out January of 2000. Now, when I first heard the album, and I should say up front, and I hope people don't get mad, I wasn't a huge D'Angelo fan. It wasn't that I didn't like Brown Sugar. I think it's a great album, and he was obviously talented, but I wasn't like, oh my God, like a lot of, frankly, R&B fans were, because,
right.
Everybody was sort of hanging on to him like he's the next Marvin Gaye, he's the next Donny Hathaway, he's the next Curtis Mayfield. He's so talented, he's so original. So, it was like he was like R&B.
Brown Sugar was hot. Brown Sugar was amazing, right? For what it was.
For what? Absolutely. And I think particularly for what R&B music was at that time, Brown Sugar was up here. I mean, it definitely was head and shoulders above 90% of the soul music that was out at that time. But for me, it didn't blow me away. I like the songs. I mean, I think it's a good album. I love Lady. That's probably my favorite song on the album. But I wasn't like, oh my God, D'Angelo. But so anyway, my friend made me a tape when we used to make like little cassette, like mixtapes or cassette tapes of the album. She had just gotten it and she gave it to me because we were both going to see D'Angelo perform at Rio City Music Hall in a couple of months after, like March, I think it was March of 2000. And basically like, well, here's the album so you can hear it, and I was curious. I was like, yeah, D'Angelo, yeah, let me check this out. She actually wasn't that crazy about the album. And I was like, okay. I was, I just sort of came into it neutral, like, let me just check it out and, and I'll know the songs for the concert. Almost the second, like first few seconds I put it on, where you hear like sort of the chanting and the, sort of the drumming and the, and the like, ooh, I mean, it's just this whole sort of, not mantra. What am I trying to say? Like tableau. That's the word. Right. This tableau, like sonically, like right in the beginning of Player, like literally when you start the album, I was like, what the fuck? Excuse my language. What the F is this? Because I was just like, oh, and I think I remember I was like, oh shit, this, this is different. Something's about to happen. And I didn't know what that was, but I just knew from the moment that song started, I was like, oh, okay, you have my attention. This is some new shit. I don't even know what this is, but I am here for the ride. And pretty much from that, I just played it through to the end. And that's when my head exploded and my mouth was on the floor and I just remember thinking, this is the guy that did Brown Sugar? This
Right.
can't be the same guy.
So what was, because it was deeper, right? Like I remember the first time I heard the album too, I hear the chant and you listen to it from beginning to end and I'm like, my thing was, I know I heard something, I just don't know what it was.
Right.
Right? Like I know there was something there that's different than what I heard before. I don't know what it was. What was your reaction to that? Like tell me about your thoughts and let's go from there.
I mean, I just felt like it was so, first of all, just musically just crafted in my sister, and she was correct. She basically says it's an experimental album. And I think that's true, which is why I think a lot of people didn't get it when it first came out in 2000. It wasn't a sing-along. It wasn't Brown Sugar Part 2. It was its own, like, almost like another element. It was like, air, water, earth, voodoo. It's like wind, voodoo. It was like its own element. It's just like, what the fuck? So it was hard to describe, but it was very soulful and very kinetic, but also not just just musically, just so. Even though it sounds messy and it sounds weird, the precision of it, as far as the arrangements, the production, the playing, he had some of the best players in the world on that album. I mean, he had Questlove, he had Roy Hargrove on trumpet, he had Pino Palladino on bass, he had Charlie Hunter on his custom bass and rhythm guitar. He had all of these master players and on this
I didn't know
album.
he had Roy Hargrove on there until just now.
Roy Hargrove, the jazz trumpeter for Generation X. A lot of people pleased with him.
Yeah, I mean, he played on and co-wrote Spanish Joint and played on pretty much about, I think something like 3 or 4, I have to look, like 3 or 4 songs on the album. But I mean, his tour de force on that album is Spanish Joint. Because
that's my favorite song on it. That's my favorite song.
That's my second favorite song. My favorite song is The Root. But yeah, it was just, and that's the thing. It was like the different genres. Like Spanish Joint was more Latin infused, and you had like The Root, which was almost like I still can't. It was almost like you're like a prayer almost. I mean, I still can't describe what The Root is. I mean, it's just an amazing song. I mean, it's like a dream, So like you're trapped in a dream with D'Angelo, like, working his stuff out, particularly, with this woman that he's in love with, which is it's based on a woman that he was dating at the time, and they were having, a very frenetic relationship and maybe you could even say toxic, but it made me feel different things, and it made
that wasn't Angie Stone at the time, right? It was Angie Stone.
No, he had already broken up with Angie Stone. Her name is Gina Figueroa, and she was seeing him at the time that they recorded Voodoo, and they are not together now. But actually, if you go skipping ahead to Black Messiah, in the beginning of the song Really Love, the woman that is speaking Spanish, that is Gina Figueroa. And she's saying that to D'Angelo as she's recording, like he's in the studio as she's saying that to him, and basically talking about sort of the demise of their relationship, basically. But it's all in Spanish. So yeah, so I just love that. I just love the audacity of the album. I love the complexity of the album, and it's just beautifully made, and it's just next level. And it's one of those albums where it's like, and that's why I just lost my mind for all of 2000 and was just including you, like everybody I knew, like, oh my God, Voodoo, you have to buy it, you have to hear it. And I said, and people looked at me like I was crazy, like I had 2 heads.
True.
I said at the time that Voodoo is the songs in the key of life of our generation. And I can't tell you how many people looked at me like I was completely batshit insane. And
that's fair, right? Because I remember, you were like, this is what you need. You need this in your life. You need to listen to it. You love music. You love Black music. You love Black people.
like you black, you need to listen to this album, right? Because this is everything we are in an
Yes.
album, and it is the songs in the key of life of our generation, right?
Yes.
Like of the Gen Xers, because it combined like our love of hip hop, our love of our need for neo soul. Like I would say it's even a need. I think this was post Lauryn Hill, right? This was just a little bit right after the Miseducation of Lauryn
Right.
Hill came out,
That's
and I
funny because
think that
Jonathan,
reminded
yeah,
us.
because that's what I was going to say. I was going to say, because the Faith, the way you describe it makes me, two albums did that for me. It was actually the soundtrack of Hamilton, and before that, it was Lauryn Hill's Miseducation. But do you think part of it is that we don't sit down like you? It's funny because like how you used to get a cassette and how you used to listen to the whole cassette and flip it over and listen to it. Is part of it that we don't listen to, you know, because there was a whole thing that went into albums. Like you get it, you open it up, you look at the art and everything on the album and stuff like that. And like, do we not pour ourselves into albums like we?
I think now we don't, because you just don't, you know, we have Spotify, we've got Apple Music, we just don't have the time. So I think now I would say that's probably true. In 2000, I would say we did listen to albums and we did pour into it. I just think Voodoo just went over a lot of people's heads. I mean,
And we're gonna and Donna, we're gonna ignore what you said about Hamilton. We're just gonna make sure. We're just gonna make believe you didn't
But
say that.
remember, no,
No,
I'm
I'm
gonna
just saying
say
you have to double down.
remember, no, because I'm a civics person. And listen, people listen, and everybody doesn't, like, for instance, people don't read as Professor Carter. And I'm saying you can get a lot of that in Hamilton. If you get it for somebody who's listening and needs to learn about civics, you need to listen. and we're not going to double down on that. Okay.
But we're not doubling down on that.
We're
But so
not.
we're talking about so we're talking about like so do you think that when you listen to Voodoo, it was because Lauryn Hill hit all of our tastes, right? Like as in like we heard the album and we're like Lauryn Hill, that's what we needed. Like 1998, 1999, that's what we needed. And it seems like D'Angelo gave us what we would need. And can you talk to that?
But we didn't realize we needed it at the time. And not only that, I think sort of rejected it, because now everybody wants to talk about Voodoo's amazing, blah, blah, blah. I remember 2000, and frankly, John, you were one of them, where people were like,
Yep.
I don't get it. This is weird. You know, and it's, it was ahead of its time. People had to catch up to that album. And I think that's what I love. And you don't have that with Brown Sugar. And again, not to diss Brown Sugar, and frankly, you don't have that with Miseducation. It's a great album, but it is an R&B, you know, obviously hip hop as well, but it is a straightforward R&B album, and it got
In between the
radio
lines.
airplay, and people could sing along to it. And I think also Lauryn was speaking to Black women where they were, particularly Gen X Black women. Like she was speaking to us,
Definitely,
as far as, particularly as far as love, as far as just survival, the whole thing. So I get it why Miseducation hit so hard. I think D'Angelo was sort of talking about similar things: love, survival, you know, unrequited love, you know, sort of being sort of messy and not maybe doing things you shouldn't be doing, you know, things that are sort of, you know, in the underground, you know, maybe, you know, sort of illegal. I mean, that's pretty much what Devil's Pie is about, you know, or not, you know, not being like a stand-up Black person. And he talked
was Devil's Pie a soundtrack for something?
I'm sorry?
Was Devil's Pie a soundtrack for something?
It was originally in Belly. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes, that's where. Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah,
it was originally in Belly, and not. I think it was more. It was like an a cappella version, and then he and DJ Premier redid it, or you know, the full version was on the Voodoo album. But I think, but I want to say, because I know we're running out of time, the one thing that I think, the other thing that I loved about Voodoo, I mean, that I love about the
you don't have to rush. You don't have to rush.
Okay. Because I know I was just like, oh, we're out of time. But the one thing that I think Donna, yeah, I think she sort of alluded to that, or maybe it was you. No, it was you, John, actually. That D'Angelo loved his blackness. He loved black people. He loved black women, and he loved. I mean, he was a protector of his blackness and our blackness, and that's the beauty of Voodoo in particular, is that he is sort of doing this sort of, you know, jigsaw puzzle as far as genres, you know, and almost like a quilt, you know, genres and time signatures and weirdness, and you know, and but at the same time, it's a very black album. And
Yes.
but unfortunately, because it wasn't radio friendly, really outside of Untitled, maybe to, you know, Send It On to a certain extent, you know, people, because that's how people got exposed to music. For the most part was we were very reliant on radio. So if radio didn't play your records, it made it harder to break through. And because Voodoo was not really made for radio, I think that's why some people didn't really catch on to it. I think, you know, and also, and frankly, again, I just think people, it's just, you know, actually, you know what, not to get off of Voodoo, but I mean, an album like that for me, as far as an album I didn't get when I first heard it, was The Roots' Things Fall Apart.
Okay.
When I first heard that album, I was like, yeah, it's good. Yeah, this is banging. But I wasn't like, you know, and like, I think I replayed it like 2 or 3 years after that, the first time I heard it. And I listened to it again. And I don't know if it was just time or me getting older or situations were changed or whatever. I heard it later and then I was like, oh my God, this is brilliant. What is wrong? What was wrong with me? Why didn't I get this when I first heard it? And that's sometimes, I mean, like literature, like film, sometimes you see it the first time and maybe you're in a bad mood or you're just not mature enough to really understand. And then maybe years or even decades later, that same book, that same film, album, whatever, you're like, oh my God, you know, it speaks to you. Like a light bulb goes off. So I'm not saying that I'm, you know, like, I think that happens to all of us. There's stuff that, you know, when particularly like art that maybe when we were younger or just in a certain point of our lives, it just didn't click. It didn't resonate with us. And then down the line, we come back to, and it's like, you know, and that's what I'm.
But that might be.
Sorry.
But I was saying that might be deliberate, right? As in the two albums that you mentioned, both had Questlove integral to him, and Questlove clearly is he's a musical geek, he's a musical nerd, he's a musical intellect, right? I think he's a deep musical intellect. I think D'Angelo also was a deep musical intellect, and they worked together on Voodoo. Can you speak to like what? Can you speak to that story?
Yeah, I mean, they met at I can't remember the year off the top of my head, but they met at the BET Awards. And I mean, and this is, I think Brown Sugar was not out yet. It was about to come out, but I think, if I remember correctly, Questlove had heard a demo of it from the engineer Bob Power that he had worked with, who also, it was one of the first engineers on Brown Sugar, and then Russell Lovato came on and took over for him. But anyway, so he had already heard Brown Sugar, and he was like, this D'Angelo, I need to be his friend. Oh my God. And they met, and pretty much, yeah, I mean, it was like, it's almost like they were brothers from another mother, as far as their musical tastes, what they want to do, as far as, you know, push the envelope. Because I think Questlove also was very frustrated with what R&B was, what hip hop was becoming. You know, again, the Roots, people didn't know I mean, outside of, you know, I mean, the Roots had sort of a cult following, right, particularly among Black folks. And I mean, you know, I mean, now they're on Jimmy Fallon. You know, they're the house band for the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. So it just, again, they're another one that people had to catch up with. But no, they just meshed. They were like the same. It's like they shared a brain as far as music goes. You know, the same influences. You know, Sly, Curtis Mayfield, Al Green, James Brown, Prince, Stevie, all, you know, Jackie Wilson, all of it. I mean, that's what they would watch while they were at Electric Lady recording songs. They would just play music and watch what Questlove would call treats, which would be different performances, you know, like things like from Soul Train or American Bandstand or you know, just basically whatever they could get their hands on, particularly as far as Black, you know, those premier Black artists. And that's what, you know, again, I mean, Voodoo in the sense that it was like this concoction that they made from all these different influences that they gelled together to make this album, sort of, you know, to make this album that would hold steady and hold firm and be really an I don't want to say an adventure, but a journey. Like that album from Playa Playa to Africa takes you on a journey emotionally, musically, intellectually, sexually, the whole thing. So you have to be, and some people just jumped off the train early. They were like, I don't know where this is going. I need a map. Y'all are lost. I can't do this. And you had to be open to it. And I think now, what my hope is now, you know, it's sad that, you know, maybe this is going to come about because D'Angelo passed, is that people will go back, particularly to Voodoo. Because I think what happened with Black Messiah is that a lot of people were like, this is awesome, blah, 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 because they were able to, you know, they were older. D'Angelo was older. And I would say it wasn't as weird as Voodoo was. So I think people could grab onto that a little bit more. But to me, it's like, you don't have a Black Messiah without Voodoo. And what I'm hoping is that this will bring more attention to the Voodoo album. And so the people who maybe were sort of hesitant to really embrace it when it first came out will listen to it again and really appreciate what D'Angelo and all the people who worked on it, but D'Angelo in particular, what he did with that album, what he did with music, and, you know, just basically making it into a new sentient being that would, you know, outlive him, sadly, but live on forever. Because it just, I just can't. I mean,
but I think
every
it's already
artist
happened
wants
to
to
some
make at
extent.
least one thing that does that for their legacy.
I'm sorry,
and I think that
every artist wants to make at least one thing that does that for their legacy.
Yes,
whether we do it intentionally or not, in our hearts and in our subconscious and in our core, there's something that we got to figure out that we want to put out that really speaks to who we are for the ages.
Yes. And I don't even know if D'Angelo was making it for the ages. I think D'Angelo was making it for
it just came out that way.
He just was like, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I want to say. This is how I want it to sound. If y'all like it, great. If you don't, I'm not really worried about it. Now, his record company was.
Right. Which is why they put out that video.
We need to make a movie. Right. Can you give us a single, please? And he didn't.
And that video, right.
About that at all.
And Faith, it was Kevin Powell who spoke about how he did not want to be sexualized. You know, he really was into the music and he wanted people to pay attention to his music and not have me all on the cover. But looking at the Voodoo, like the title of the songs, I don't like, you did the book and it seems like he did take you, you know, the listener on a full, like, because like you said, it starts out with Playa, Devil's Pot. Just looking at the names left and right, the line, Send It On, Chicken Grease, One More Gin, The Root, the Spanish Joint, I Feel Like Making Love, Great Day in the Morning, Untitled, which is How Does It Feel, and then in closing was Africa. So it seems like it was a full story, you know, that it was that the listener was taken on and some experience. And I don't know if you were a fan. I really love Angie Stone. I love. And prior, like a month prior to her passing, there was a long interview that she did, and she included a lot about D'Angelo, you know, and being in the studio with him and everything. Were you a fan of Angie Stone? And, you know,
I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, I like some of her songs. I was not a huge Angie Stone fan, but I will say I respected her work as a songwriter. And I mean, and particularly, and actually, I'm glad you brought up Angie Stone because I think she's sort of like the hidden figure of Voodoo, even though she and D'Angelo had already, you know, basically their relationship had ended around the time he started recording Voodoo. But I mean, she co-wrote half of the album. and she was a
She co-wrote half of Voodoo?
I think she co-wrote like 4 of the songs, so maybe not
I didn't
half.
know that.
Yeah, she co-wrote "Send It On," "Africa." Oh God, I should know this off the top of my head. I think "Player." I'd have to look, but yeah, but she co-wrote, "Send It On," "Africa," "Player." What was the 4th one? Anyway, I'd have to look. But she did. She wasn't in the studio with them, but she did. "Send It On" and "Africa" were basically about their son, Michael, who had just been born, who was a baby. And so that was like their tribute to him.
So that's why it sounds like that, because it's Africa sounds like almost like a nursery rhyme,
A
kind of
lullaby.
like like a lullaby. It's a lullaby, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yes. Yep, that's for his son. But Angie, and obviously she's a big reason he was able to complete Brown Sugar, and contributed to that as a songwriter. And unfortunately, I tried very hard to get an interview with her for the book, and I could not get her. I just couldn't get her. I tried through different channels, and she never responded, because I didn't care really about the relationship. And I think that's the thing, because people they think of Angie Stone and they think of, like No More Rain in This Cloud and D'Angelo's baby mama. And it's like, no, she had her own career, but also she was a big part of D'Angelo's career. You would have no D'Angelo without Angie Stone on a certain
And I knew that for Brown Sugar. I did not know that that she was so involved with Voodoo.
Well, she wasn't involved with I want to be clear. She wasn't involved with the production of it, but she did co-write some of the songs. So I guess that's why I want to just be. She was not there when they recorded it, so that's why I just want to be clear about that. But yeah, I think she deserves credit for what D'Angelo contributed in his music, particularly in Brown Sugar and Voodoo. Like, she deserves the credit for influencing his sound, helping him craft songs. Actually, Jocelyn Cooper, the music publisher that basically discovered D'Angelo and like signed him to her publishing company. She also had, I believe she had Angie Stone on her roster, and she put them together to help him finish Brown Sugar. So they started out as peers, as obviously co-writers and musicians in their own right, and she's still continued to be a musician in her own right, and then got romantically involved. But I think that the romance of it, their pairing sort of overshadows, unfortunately, I think, the work they did together, which I felt that it was important to sort of shout her out in the book, to say, hey, if we're going to talk, let's not just talk about the guys here, and as important as they are, we got to give some love to Angie too. And her death earlier this year was so sad. And it makes me really, it really breaks my heart for Michael, the eldest of D'Angelo's kids, because he lost both of his parents this year.
Right.
And
within a short period of time.
Yeah. That's just really, it's horrible. So, rest in peace to Angie Stone as well.
And I to pick up on what Donna was talking about when she said she listened to the album, and from beginning to end, it seemed like a story. What's the story that he was telling? Like, if you have to say that, if you have to take that on, right, as someone who studied the album, like first from the point of a fan and then as the point of a writer, what is the story that he's taking us on in this album?
Well, I think the big one is just it was a sort of almost like a coming of age album, weirdly enough, because D'Angelo was 25 when it came out. It came out a few weeks before his 26th birthday. So this is but that just shows you the level of brilliance that you were working with, that even someone in his early 20s could make an album like that. I think that's the other thing that blew my mind. I was like, how the fuck, this is like, I couldn't do something like that at 22, 23, 24. There are artists twice his age that couldn't make an album like Voodoo. So I think it was a story of him coming of age in the music industry, coming out of a relationship with Angie Stone, being in the middle of a relationship with Gina Figueroa, and sort of that, up and down, aspect to it, the fragility of that, and of that relationship. And I think it was him sort of, we saw him, I don't want to say grow up because that sounds so trite, but it was him on his trajectory to what he, showing what he could do as a singer, songwriter, musician, and just sort of breaking the mold, challenging the boundaries, but also revealing himself as a young Black man, as a person who came into the music industry super young and maybe not really being prepared for it.
Mm-hmm.
And also being a new father. I think that's going to make the Voodoo D'Angelo much different from the Brown Sugar D'Angelo, right? So,
okay,
because he was basically growing up and maturing as he was making this album, and while doing that, just sort of throwing all caution to the wind, which is a wonderful thing. And I think that's what, frankly, young artists should do. They should just be like, I'm going to do this. Meet me at the end if you can keep up with me, cool. If you want to meet me at the end, cool. If not, I'll see y'all later. So
and I think that's
to me, that's the story, if that makes sense.
I think that's a beautiful way to tell it, right? Like, because when you look at the beginning or hear the beginning, it seems like there's this initiation, right? Like there's this maybe initiation into adulthood, maybe it's birth, I don't know, right? Like you're forcing me to listen to it yet again, with a different lens. But it seems like starting off with like, we're having one of the earlier songs on the album be devil's pie, as in like the music industry, the choices that you make, right? Everybody, like, it just seems like there's this moral conflict
Yeah.
at the center of devil's pie, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that it's just so beautiful that, like, I think one of the last songs on the album is the lullaby to his child, right? Like,
No,
it's Africa.
yeah, Africa is the last song on the album. Yes.
And so it just seems
a
like
song
it goes
he almost
from
didn't record, by the way. Like
Wow.
Questlove, it almost didn't make it. He was like,
Tell me.
no. Questlove basically begged him, like, please do the song. The song needs to be on there. So thank Questlove for Africa making it onto the album. But I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, that was perfect, because like I didn't. You're telling us these wonderful stories about the album, right? Because like that are great. So that is something that we welcome, right?
Oh, and just very quickly, I was just checking the book. Angie Stone co-wrote 4 songs on the album. So I just wanted to confirm that. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No,
and so Faith, what do you and what are you working on now? So is this going to, do you think you're going to kind of do a follow-up, reintroduce the book to say what we missed, or any breaking news here?
Not right now. Not related to the Voodoo book, not right now.
But I know you're doing a lot of interviews right now.
Yeah, I am doing a lot of interviews. It's crazy. The book is actually the #1 R&B book, the #1 selling R&B book on Amazon right now, which is nuts.
It should be.
Yeah, it's just, but I mean, I just wish it was for another reason, it's just,
Right.
but what I'm hoping is that the book make, either for people, because I didn't just write the book for D'Angelo fans, and I didn't just write the book for fans of Voodoo. I really wanted people who were just music geeks, and really, particularly R&B geeks, who were maybe D'Angelo curious or Voodoo interested, like, oh, let me read this book, and da-da-da-da. I didn't want to just sort of be like, D'Angelo is awesome, he gives me feelings, la, la, la. I really I want to sleep with him. I wanted to sort of tell my own story with this album, but also talk about the production, the things that D'Angelo was dealing with, but also putting it in the context of the late 90s and early aughts as far as the music industry and what was going on there, and why Voodoo really, particularly, I would say even now, Voodoo is just sort of like, what? But particularly for that era, Voodoo was just, like next level. Like,
And what made it so different for that era? Like, what was you're talking about early 2000s? Kanye hadn't come out yet. Like, there were a lot of people hadn't come out yet.
right.
You had the ascendancy of Jay-Z. You
Yes.
had and what else? Yeah, Usher was a thing. I think
It
Destiny's
was a
Child has
thing.
just started making music, right? Like, so we just get introduced to Beyonce. Like, what is your impression of the late 90s, early 2000s? We were introduced to Lauryn Hill. She got
Yeah.
our minds right on certain things. So what was that like to you? What were your
Well, I
thoughts
mean,
about what this context was musically?
I think, I mean, we mentioned neo soul, which, by the way, was a moniker that D'Angelo hated, and he just rejected it outright. Like, I am not neo soul. I am an artist that does Black music. Please don't pigeonhole it. Same thing with Erykah Badu. She also didn't like that term. But you had those type of artists, coming. I mean, you mentioned Bilal, seeing him perform recently. You had Bilal, you had Common, you had D'Angelo, you had Erykah Badu. So, they were in that, they had the roots. You had that sort of neo soul, even though no one really likes that term. That, that was sort of brewing. But at the time, it was pretty, again, very, I don't want to say traditional R&B, but not anything really I would say groundbreaking. I mean, Destiny's Child was coming up. You had, like, Jodeci was sort of starting to become a thing. You had these singers that weren't, I mean, not to say that the music was horrible, but it was predictable. There was nothing to really, like, set you on fire that was really happening. Now, where that was happening was, hip hop. Hip hop was now hip hop is the culture. And at that time, hip hop was starting to, like, was influencing the culture and starting to become the culture. And you did have a lot of people and groups sort of playing, with what hip hop was. I mean, the roots.
Musical intellectuals,
I'm
right?
sorry.
Musical intellectuals,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
Like,
Like,
you
you
had,
mentioned, we
right,
talked about the roots,
Dilla, and
Arrested
right.
Development, Diggable Planet, to Tribe Called Quest, Jay Dilla with Slum Village, Gangstar, all that. So you had all these groups that were starting. They were like, oh, okay, we're gonna do our own sort of, brew here and do some interesting stuff. And, some of it was radio friendly, some of it wasn't. And of course, you mentioned Jay-Z, and, we had Nas coming, starting to come up. And I mean, so that was, and then you could hear that in Voodoo too, sort of the early, like, that early influence of hip hop as well. But I think that's where sort of the crackling and pop, crackle pop, I'm thinking of Rice Krispies, but that crackle and pop was really in hip hop, whereas in R&B it was sort of static, sort of, it was fine. I mean, you had Mariah, you had Whitney, you had Deborah Cox, you had, TLC, it was fine. I mean, it
But
was
all this
cool,
from the
but it was
90s
nobody,
coming in, right?
nobody.
And I don't think you had. I think the only person you had that was starting to do that was, and I think came out right around the same time. I think 1999, Music Soul Child came out, and you had Erykah Badu come out, and I think maybe, right, but that's not along the same lines, right?
No.
Like, it's not like,
No.
because, like, it was nothing I think the only thing that you could do to compare, like, Voodoo is, like, you have to talk about when Marvin Gaye was in a lab, or when Stevie Wonder was in a lab in the early 70s.
Exactly.
Right.
That's
And
exactly. Yeah.
so you didn't have people just go into the lab like that.
Right.
Except for maybe Badu.
Prince.
Right. Right. So
I
go
mean,
into the lab like Prince.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you didn't. And I think, I mean, God, I'm gonna get in trouble for this. No shade on Music Soul Child, but he doesn't come close to D'Angelo. I mean, it's just, I remember when he first came out, everybody's like, Music Soul Child, and I was like, nah.
Bubblegum music.
And I think he would admit that, like, yeah.
You're like Music Soul Child is the Lou Rawls to Marvin Gaye.
See, and I love Lou Rawls. Wait a minute.
Right. We love Music Soul Child, but, like, I love Lou Rawls.
Music Soul Child,
and we love Hamilton. See, Jonathan.
No.
Oh,
No.
God.
You will not redeem that.
I mean, Music Soul Child is like a high-end Honda or Nissan. D'Angelo is a Ferrari.
Okay.
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 Come at me. I don't, you know,
No, it's all
I know
right.
people out there
It,
love
no, no,
Soul Child. I'm like, God
I
bless
understand
y'all,
what
but
you're saying, because Music Soul Child would never make an album that people didn't immediately get or understand.
right.
He wouldn't take those chances.
Mu-
He wouldn't go into that
Music
line,
Soul
right?
Child is not capable of making a Voodoo. He just isn't. And I'm sorry. I'm not saying he's not talented. I'm not saying, well, I mean, he's not my cup of tea, but
Bubblegum.
he's not, I mean, that's what.
He just serves a different purpose, right? Like
Right, exactly. And that's
D'Angelo
fine.
was right, and I think that what we're talking about is the art as just artists who geek it out, who take chances, who do stuff who really strive to do things that
Yes.
haven't been done before. And it's particularly, and I want you to talk about this too, right? I think this conversation cannot exist. I don't think that voodoo can exist outside the context of, and you mentioned this, our love of blackness, our love of black music. Like, what does that mean for the blackness of our music, the blackness of our experience to push these sonic boundaries? Because it is a tribute to to our sound, the sound that is produced by our culture. Can you talk to that?
Okay, that's a lot. I mean, I think, but there have always been artists that were pushing boundaries. I just think, I think again, Jimi Hendrix, Stevie Wonder, Prince. I think, Miles Davis, John Coltrane. I mean, we've had Aretha. I mean, even though I don't know if Aretha doesn't get thrown into that musical genius category, even though I think she
But she
was.
should.
And actually, I think
Her
D'Angelo
voice, what
had a
she did with
lot
it,
more in
right?
common with Aretha, particularly as a preacher's kid, than maybe he
Right.
even had with Stevie or Prince. But that's another conversation. I think we've always been, I mean, we wouldn't have popular music without Black people. I mean, we invented rock music. We invented country music. I mean, that came from us. So in a way, we've always, to rip off D'Angelo's name for his band, we've always been the vanguard of music. I think D'Angelo just sort of put that crown on his head, I mean, whether it was intentional or not, and just walked with that straight into a studio, and then came out with an album, and you could say 2 albums with Black Messiah, and just said, "Here you go." He owned his greatness as an artist. I think he knew all along, like, I can do. Although I will say though, like, as he was making Voodoo, he did have writer's block. Although I would say a lot of great artists always get stuck, and they're like, wait a minute, because he just didn't want to put in, excuse my language, he didn't want to put out bullshit. So you know what I'm saying? So yeah, if you're trying to do interesting, different, great things, you're gonna get stuck for a little bit, And so yeah, I think his love of blackness and his love of music, and just his preternatural talent meant he had to make these albums. He had to do these great live performances. He had to be who he was. I mean, he changed his name from Michael Archer to basically replicate the name of this amazing artist, Michelangelo.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that in and of itself is ballsy. You know what I'm saying? Who does that? Like, you know what? Let me name myself after the dude that painted the Sistine Chapel. Let me do that. Who does, it's like, I think he knew all along who he was. And it came out in his music, and that is part of his blackness, and that is part of him exalting his blackness and Black people and Black artists that came before him.
And I appreciate that. I know we're getting toward the end of the program, but as you're when you were writing this, because you wrote the book in 2020, right?
Well, I wrote it before that. It came out in 2020.
Okay, and
2017 to 2019.
Okay, cool. And when you're writing the book, or even now, right? Like as you're reminiscing, as you are going back and in commemoration, right, What hip hop do you listen to? Are you listening to? Because we asked that of all of our guests, right? So who are you listening to? Or you could just tell us who your favorite hip hop artist is.
Actually, weirdly enough, well, it's not weird. I'm listening to Doechii right now. I have her
Oh,
album, Alligator Bites Never Heal. Partly because, I mean, really, I bought it. She gave this great speech at the BET Awards where
Yes.
she called out Trump,
Mhm.
called out ICE, called out what was happening in Gaza,
That's right.
and,
Right
and just
outside.
really
Yeah.
stood on
Mhm.
business. And I said, you know what?
Mhm.
Let me give you my money. Here's my credit card. Let me go on iTunes. And so, yeah, and that's a good album. I mean, I love it. Nissan Altima is my favorite song on that album. I mean, my favorite hip hop artist, I mean, as I'm sure for a lot of people, their favorite hip hop artist is this person, Kendrick Lamar.
fair.
I mean,
Say, we are but did you tell us, are you working on anything right now? Film or book?
I mean, I have like, it sounds like Trump, like the concept of a book. It's not completely fleshed out yet. I mean, it's basically about, it would be like a nonfiction book about Black women, particularly single single middle-aged Black women, and where, how do we move in a society where basically they want us to stand still and go away. So I'm still working that out. It's not done yet. When it's done, I can let Jonathan know, and maybe I can be back here to talk about it. But
absolutely.
Yeah, but that's sort of what's on the burner. But again, it's in a very nascent stage right now.
And any film
And
that
now
you
you were
have you done
recently
a
featured.
film? I'm sorry. Have you done a film, or are you just
She has
are you
done
working
two.
on? Okay.
I've done 4 actually.
Yeah.
I am not working on a film right now.
Okay.
I did have, and I may have it back in rotation or back in distribution. I had made a film in 2007, a documentary called Silent Choices, about abortion from the perspective of African Americans. Sadly, it is way more relevant now than it was when it came out then, and I want it to be irrelevant. I want people to not have to look at it and talk about it. It's crazy that we're sort of going backwards. So that's one of the films I made. I made another documentary short called Weightless, about a scuba diving camp for plus size women that aired. It aired on the documentary channel. It doesn't exist anymore on American television. But and I've made a couple of narrative shorts. I'm not working on a film right now. If someone wants to write me a check, if you have a great idea and you want to send me some coins,
I wish I could.
I will gladly talk to you about making
There are
a
a
film.
couple things I'd like to see done. Yeah, I wish I could have. I wish I did have some money.
Fair. So now you were also recently featured in the New York Times. Just as you were recently featured in the New York Times, and it was very pleasant to see you featured. And that actually was just a very interesting story. Just briefly, can you tell us about the actual feature? Your
Sure.
picture was there, your whole story was there.
Yes,
In the
I
in the
am
Times.
a new homeowner. I bought a place in Brooklyn. Thank you. I brought a place in Brooklyn earlier this year, and I was featured in the real estate section of the Times. They have a subsection called The Hunt, where they interview new home buyers, basically, or people who just bought a place, and sort of talk about their narrative. In short, it took, give or take, 2 years to find a place. I kept going back. I was living in Chicago at the time. I kept flying back and forth. I had 2 different real estate agents. And honestly, like last year I was going to give up. If I didn't find anything by early December of last year, I was like, okay, I'm done. And then I found a place. It was great. And I mean, basically I did this interview because I wanted to rep particularly single Black women who own, and particularly in a city like New York that's so expensive. And I sort of wanted to tell my story and say, hey, not to say that it's easy and that, you can do it too. And also, I didn't do it. I didn't get family money. I didn't have an inheritance. I didn't win the lottery. I just saved my money and just busted my butt. And, I just hauled ass and just did what I needed to do in order to like have a down payment and be able to pay closing costs and all that. Because it's a lot. It's not just you buy a place. I mean, you gotta have a lawyer, you gotta pay the real estate agent, you gotta pay closing costs, you have to do all these things. So I really wanted, because you don't see women like me, particularly in that section of the Times, or frankly in the Times at all. But so that was important. That was important to me, because, and also just very quickly, I do want to tell you, it's not in the article. When not long after I moved into that place, my neighbor across the hall, a Black Caribbean woman, came out and she saw me. And the first thing, we hadn't officially met yet, the first thing she said to me was, "Oh my God, you're Black!" And she was so happy. And I knew exactly what she meant. I knew, because it was clear, because I was an owner as opposed to a renter. I think she just had in her head, a white person bought this, because it is a gentrifying. I'm in Flatbush. I'm like a few blocks away from Brooklyn College, and it is gentrifying. So I think she just assumed a white person bought it. So she saw me, and again, saw someone who looked like her and was like, "Yay!" And she was really ecstatic about it. And then she introduced me to her friend, and her friend was like, "Oh, is she a renter?" I said, "No, she's an owner." And she was like, "Ah!" So it's sort of tragic to have to say that in 2025, to be like shocked that a Black woman owns real estate in New York City. On one hand, that's
I was trying to get
sad,
in,
but I appreciate that they appreciated me, and my accomplishment, which again is sort of why I contacted the Times and said, "Hey, do you want to hear my story?" And so
you pitched to them.
Yeah,
you pitched to. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, they have an email address where you can contact them and say, they look for people like, "Hey, have you just bought a place? We want to hear your story." Yeah. So yeah, to them.
All right. Well, Jonathan, you got to give me that story, because I have a girlfriend who's a broker in New York, and I would love to share that with her.
I put it in the chat.
Okay, cool.
All right, cool. Well, thank you so much for coming out, and thank you for spending the entire hour with us.
And Faith, we're gonna mark this date 2035. You'll be calling Jonathan and saying, "Aha, I get it about Music Soul Child." 10 years, you'll call him.
No, I don't. I don't
no.
think so. But that's Voodoo by Faith Pennick. D'Angelo's Voodoo by Faith Pennick, and it's in the 33 1/3 series. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on, and thank all of our guests. The disciples, thank you for our first hour. Reverend Louise, Scott-Rountree, Haqq-Muhammad, and also to First Lady Balena Ali. Also, thank you. Yes. Yes. Thank you for coming on to the show and to that segment, giving us great information about the services that are available in Newark. Thank you also, Chairman of People's Organization for Progress, Larry Hamm. Love having you on the show, always breaking down the politics of now. Shout out to Ed Riley, who was at the governor's conversation at Metropolitan Baptist Church. Jack Ciattarelli, the Republican nominee for governor, was there, along with the Democratic representative, or the Democratic nominee for governor, Mikey Sherrill. Not Sherrill, Cheryl. I'm Black. Cheryl, right? Cheryl, Mikey Sherrill.
Did not have the music.
Right. So thank you. Right. So thank you for being on. And Faith, we're gonna have to get you on even more often to talk about. I know you talk about politics and culture in very entertaining ways. So I just remember a lot of the conversations from a while ago. So we definitely have to get you back in the show.
Careful what you wish for, Jonathan.
No, I think you'd have fun. I think I know, right? So, but I think it will be a lot of fun.
You think I can talk about D'Angelo? Let me talk about Trump for a minute. Anyway. A whole bunch of other
talk about him like a dog.
And Faith, we're already in overtime. Are you a voter, Faith?
Yes, I am registered in New York City, in Brooklyn.
And tomorrow starts early voting for both New
Yes.
York and New Jersey. Can you be the guest that can tell us in 30 seconds or less why people got to go out and vote?
Well, I mean, to me, it's like it's not. It's something that it's a privilege. It is a right. It's a right and it's a privilege. To me, it's a duty. Particularly, there are people, Black people, who died so that I and us can have the right to vote. I don't think that should be taken for granted. And I think there's just too much at stake when you look at literally what's happening right now with ICE, with what's happening in the Caribbean seas, what's happening with the tariffs, all of it, and even like locally what's going on. I think it's not the only way to have your voice heard, but it's a very important way to have your voice heard is to go out and vote. And for those of you in New York City, go Zoran.
I didn't want to ask you, but you took us there.
No, that's fine. So definitely, we'd love to have you on, and that would be great. So we will talk to you soon. Thanks, you.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
And until next week, be safe, be careful, and we will see you next week.
Go Hamilton.